Just waiting for the.
There we go. We are officially live, and wow, looks like, hey, you know, my audience normally is well. Look at the polls are already being filled in pretty quick here, and looks like we got quite a crowd here already. Usually nobody shows up until 2 or 3 minutes afterwards, so everybody's already here nice and early. So we appreciate that, and for those of you, and I know many of you watching right now, you're already in that poll, so feel free to check out the poll. And the poll is, are you currently doing work with GMBs? And officially at this point in time, nobody has chosen what is Google. So everybody at least knows who Google are. And it looks like the biggest answer right now is no. We just lost Paul, so hopefully he'll be back in a second here. But the biggest answer right now is no, but I want to. So that's good. 41% of you are not currently using the GMBs, but you would like to. So that's pretty good. So as you can see here, I've got a couple of special guests, one of which just vanished, and I'm sure he'll be back in a second. I know he's got some internet issues, so hopefully he'll jump back in here. But we have with us John Curry. John, do you want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah, hi everybody. It's
good to have you on here, and I can see we got Brenda and Charles and Brent and Rick and Marshall and Alan and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, so I'm probably going to mess it up. Wakar, and if that's right, let me know. But I'm not sure. But if you are here, be sure to say hello, but not just say hello. Just do what Brent just did and what Dennis did, and tell us where you're from. We got Tampa, we've got San Diego, and I'd love to see this because we always get people from all over the world, and I always just sit here and think. And Flash is here. Hey, Flash, how's it going? Laurie's from Maui, so that's cool. She says aloha, and it's great because you think about this. 10 years ago, we couldn't sit here and talk to people that were in Maui and Dublin and Tampa and Minneapolis and Wilmington and Burby Island, which, that's Flash, of course, I should have known. In the UK, can you imagine 10 years ago saying, I'm talking to people from all over the world live and in living color at the same time? And that's pretty impressive. Alberto is from New Jersey, or it just says Jersey. I'm not sure if that's Jersey City or if that's Jersey in the UK. But Alberto is from Jersey, and we've got Norfolk, and we've got Arizona, 117 degrees. Yikes. That's a pretty scary thought. San Francisco, Lakeland, Carl, Carlos, Richard, Keith, everybody's here. So, and I'm assuming since you're answering the questions that you can all hear me, but if for some reason, you can't, well, I would say tell me, but you wouldn't hear me say it, so you wouldn't know. So with that, we've got Paul back on here. Paul, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, everybody. Apologies for that. I've got a very major internet problems at the moment with my exchange. So
the problem with Paul is
live again. So
Paul lives out in Perth, so it takes like 5 days for the internet signal to reach there. So
we're 30 years behind the rest of the world. So apologies for the slow internet.
Yeah, normally uses carrier pigeons. Right?
Yeah, that's
pigeons can't fly that far. So you're all here.
So we'll get through it.
We got France. Paul said he needs earbuds. Well, Paul needs earbuds. Oh, I see. Steve is saying Paul needs earbuds. So Paul, apparently you need earbuds. I probably do too. I'm not wearing them either, but well, for everybody that's here, Ron is from Maine, and again we've got Kansas. Wow, everybody's from all over the place.
Kansas, I like Kansas.
Terry says Paul's the only person with worse internet than him. So,
yeah,
it's Terry. So I'm not sure if it's a him or a her. But Steve says feedback. Oh, okay. He's talking about you, Paul. Apparently, he's getting a little bit of feedback there. And Alberto says it's South Jersey. All right, I know South Jersey pretty well. Terry is a her. So there we go. So we're not here to chat all about where we live, but we do like to hear that. But today we want to talk about something very, very special. And for those of you that have joined us, you know what we're talking about here. We're talking about Google My Business and how you can use that to really help businesses in your area. And guys, you want to tell us a little bit about why it is that you guys love Google My Business? Because I know you guys have a great story on why Google My Business is so important. I mean, I'd love to hear that. So either one of you, John or Paul, either one of you can jump in there.
All right.
Do you want me to jump in, John?
Yeah, take it away.
Okay. So for me, it started maybe about a year ago, really, my interest in Google My Business, because I was just noticing that organic rankings were, even though I was still getting the rankings, wasn't getting the traffic to the same degree. And it was just, I was just struggling really on a local basis. And then had to look at either it was going to be AdWords, which is a swear word to me. I don't like it because the industry I was in at the time, and I still have a small interest in, there was a lot of malicious clicking. So you actually effectively couldn't even run a profitable AdWords campaign because a lot of people in the industry were going about malicious clicking, and Google really didn't want to hear about it. They didn't want to know. They wanted you to investigate the IP addresses. It was crazy. I mean, the ordinary person doesn't know how to do that. So I abandoned using AdWords probably 3 years ago for that reason. So that wasn't a viable alternative for me. So I had to look at another way of generating local traffic, and I was sort of broadly aware of GMB, but hadn't really explored it. And then thought, right, I'm going to do a deep dive. I'm actually going to learn everything there is to know about this subject. I'm not going to suggest that I've got there yet, but I've certainly learned a heck of a lot. And yeah, it's really just for me, it's the best way to get free local traffic. Period. There's just no other way that you can get the same amount of traffic locally than using GMB. Now, I think because probably 18 months to 2 years ago, Google started rolling out the IP proximity part of the algorithm in a really big way. They really dialed it up, and there's no sign at the moment they're going to dial that back. So sometimes you've got to use, depending on the niche you're in, you've got to use more than one GMB. So you're forced to use some black hat techniques to actually get the coverage that you want to get. But as long as you're happy to, or even if you're not happy, if you're willing to do that, and I think you have to be these days in order to really get the numbers, then GMB is fantastic. It just offers you unparalleled ability to scale that you can't do, certainly you can't do with anywhere near the same speed organically. I mean, you're talking about, months to years to rank some sites, whereas with GMB, you can typically do it in under 90 days, sometimes within a few days, depending on the niche. I mean, I've even had stuff ranking in a day. I'm going to qualify this by saying I'm not going to give any guarantee that we can actually teach you to do that. But certainly I've had, with less competitive niches, I put stuff up and I've had the networks and stuff in place, and within a day or two, I'm actually ranking for probably half a dozen keywords, ranking well. I mean, not just within the immediate proximity of the business. So that's really the reason that I like it, that it's just so scalable and it's so good from the traffic perspective. It's not, and it's not just about ranking, because what I have found with websites too, sometimes I rank them and wasn't getting any traffic from them. So yeah, they're great if you're a vanity player and you enjoy the fact that you've managed to rank a website for the hell of ranking it. But if you're in it to make some money, then I'm only interested in the traffic, and GMB brings traffic. So that's really the main reason.
Nice. And, it's funny you said that, because people are commenting over here, a day, what do you mean a day? And, we've seen it, we've seen it happen in a day or two. And my wife is starting a travel agency. She hasn't even started yet. She's actually getting her little license degrees and all that kind of stuff. But we claimed her listing and she's already in the top 3. So she's probably going to start getting phone calls any day now, and she can't actually do anything yet. So that'll be
no, that's a good start. Your GMB's ready before you are. That's you can't get better than that.
Very good. And John, what about you? What's your thoughts on this whole GMB deal?
Well, I've been building websites and ranking them. I've been on for forever online. And for me, it was all just about organic traffic. I've been through the whole mill. I've had businesses that were making $30,000 a month, and then the next day they had nothing. I've been up and down and all that sort of stuff, but I just got back up again. And then like in 2017, I built a software. There's a guy on here called Waka. We built it. He helped me build it. It's called Ranking Factory. Okay. Yep. And I left them. Waka's now with me, and so they've gone their way. And I've got the software now. It's called Staking Genius. But and that was my main thing, ranking sites, because you can build all these sites, Google sites, and stack them together. Okay, by stack them together, I mean link them together. And Google has enormous power. You know, the actual pages of the Google sites. So, and Paul and I have been talking about this for a long time, but in the beginning of this year, I built my first Google My Business. Paul and I did it together. And within 3 weeks, my business had doubled. We've got a weight loss business here in South Africa. Not joking.
That's the one you showed me. Weight loss one,
yeah. It had doubled. And it wasn't even like built out, but I mean, it's in Johannesburg, which is a commercial hub of South Africa. And so now I've got 3 in different parts, north, south, east, not in the west yet.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. Like to say your business doubled in a few weeks. And a lot of people will be skeptical of that, but the first exposure that I really had to using what I knew on a client's site happened within a couple of months of me actually learning a little bit about GMB. I really didn't know anywhere near what I know now, and I was sort of using this as a test case. And that business was on it about a year and 3 months ago. That business was on its knees. I mean, literally, the people that were running it were facing bankruptcy and was in their home. There's a story behind that. They had a chain of shops, and over the years, the business had declined. And one of the things they had left was a mobile catering business. But they lost their website for silly reasons. They didn't own it. Somebody else owned the copyright. It's one of those where they built it and rank it for you, and you pay them monthly. And then once they've got it ranked, they have a gun and they come to your house and say, right, you've got to pay us 10 times as much money. I mean, I don't mean that literally, but that's effectively what it is. They'll rank it for you, get the business, and then they just hold a gun to your head and say, right, the price has gone up dramatically. So they decided not to pay. They lost their website, lost their Facebook page a couple of months later, ended up with no business effectively. So they had no business, no budget. So I stepped in and said, okay, look, I'll cut you a deal because at the end of the day, I'm going to use this as a test case. So we had no money to play with, so to speak. So I just had to put my time in and do it that way. And within admittedly, this is not 3 weeks. So we're talking a year later. That business now, they're fully booked this summer. They're in the UK, so this is their summer season. They're booked out till the end of September, and they were at the end of May. They were booked out. They couldn't do any more business. They just literally had to turn everybody away from May because they were already booked out for the whole season. And that's happened in a year. So not 3 weeks, admittedly, it's taken a bit longer there, but they started seeing a substantial increase within 8 weeks. Yeah. And this is quite typical. One of the testimonials that we have on our sales page for our course, actually a guy called Bert, he did some interesting case studies because he used the course for 4 clients. And they're only, as he says, clients are only interested in phone calls or clicks to the website. They don't want to know about the ranking. And they really weren't interested in knowing, am I in the 3-pack, am I not? They couldn't care less. They just wanted the phone to ring. So he did a case study based on traffic. He said, I'm not even going to look at where it's ranking. I'm not really interested. I just want to know, is this going to generate traffic to their site and to their phone? And what he documented over about an 8-week period was absolutely astounding. And it's just about knowing what to do. So it's not rocket science. It really isn't. But a lot of people do the wrong things because they'll read what they're told to do in either free videos or whatnot, or in forums. I'd be careful when you're in forums. A lot of people are giving misinformation, sometimes intentionally, sometimes just through ignorance, but you end up going down a lot of rabbit holes. I did myself. You go down a lot of rabbit holes and they don't lead anywhere. So you've got to be careful about who you actually listen to. But if you get it right, it's incredible. It surprises me. I mean, what Bert achieved, it was like, wow. I was like, even I couldn't believe that he was getting the results he was. And he was.
Everybody wants to know what niche that is, by the way.
He had four businesses, so not just one single one. One was in the insurance space. One was a guy who did video marketing. I can't remember the other two, but they were really diverse. They were unrelated, all four unrelated niches.
He actually gave us a video testimonial that's on the GMB local.com website.
And he did that unsolicited. It was really, one day he just said, "Hey guys, I've done this for you. Sorry," he said, "I would have done this sooner, but I wanted to just make sure that I'd seen the whole thing through first and that I'd done everything." And so it took he was one of the first people that ever had access to the course, and it took him about 8 weeks, I think, 8 or 9 weeks to do the testimonial. And he did promise. He said, "I'll good or bad, I'll give you a testimonial." And I said, "Well, that's great." And then it didn't happen, and I just thought, "Oh, well, yeah, okay. He's just another one that he says he would, and then he didn't." But yeah, when it came through, it was like, I watched it. It's about 5 or 6 minutes long, and it was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe the results that he got. And it kind of really it spurs you on to do more and to help more people, because you realize what it can actually do. It can literally, I mean, I'll say this, I know this is bandied around a lot, this idea of life-changing things, but certainly for this couple in the UK, it was life-changing. I mean, in no small way, because in fact they had actually, they told me this in confidence, that they actually were in debt with somebody that you didn't want to be in debt with. And they had actually had visits to the house. Yeah, it was that bad. So for them, this was seriously life-changing. So yeah, it can actually, it can make a dramatic difference to your business and ergo to your life, because at the end of the day, your business, if you rely on the income from your business, then that is your life. So it certainly made a big difference to me. And I know with your weight loss business, John, it's just...
Well, it is. It's now by the end of this year, because we're coming up to summer now, which is when that's like when we really take off. We're hoping to do 4 times as much in September, October, November as what we did last year. That's the level of calls that we're getting. It's amazing. Because we're basically doing what we did this middle of July now, it's the middle of winter. We're doing what we normally did in November.
Wow.
Okay, so anyway, that's from GMB. I saw a question there. Somebody asked, what is GMB? So I think we should sort of just go into get onto the training side, Paul, and just
sure.
Okay,
all right, so, ready for me to pop up that slideshow?
Yeah, pop it up, and then I'll prompt you to go through them, Ray, because as I said, I've got literally no control here from this end, because I'm flying blind again, but that's fine.
That's
okay. So local search is changing rapidly. So I think most people kind of get this, even if they don't watch Google like a hawk. You can't have noticed that, in the last couple of years, a lot of things have changed. Indexing, for example, now Google's being very, very fussy about what it does and doesn't index. So these are the primary changes that we're seeing, and what this is really sort of telling people is that it's all becoming about Google. I mean, it's not really any surprise, I guess, that we're seeing more and more Google products and features on the first page of Google. I think this is the direction it was always going to be heading in. And it's going unabated. So there's likely to be a time when, all the organic stuff gets pushed either to the bottom of the page. And in fact, you do see some results where there is little, if any, organic traffic whatsoever on the first page. And especially if you're viewing on a mobile. If you're viewing on a mobile device, it's very common to see nothing but Google properties on the first page. And so if you're not using Google properties and you're only using organic websites, or you're relying on organic rankings for your websites alone, you can expect to fare pretty badly over the next over the coming years. So it's, as I said at the bottom here, it's entirely possible to see the entire first page populated with Google products. I have seen that on a number of occasions. So if you want to flip, you can flip that slide, Ray.
All right, sorry.
That's all right.
So.
Okay, so a couple of things that you can do. So optimizing your knowledge panel. So one of the things that every business that is verified with Google, so if you get a GMB and you verify it, you're going to get a knowledge panel. And you can get them without too, but once you've created a GMB, there's going to be sufficient information on your website that you're going to get some kind of knowledge graph coming up. If you optimize that, and by optimize it, I mean that you understand what Google is using, or where it's drawing its information from, the snippets that it puts into that knowledge panel, and you optimize those properties. And that does include your website. So I'm not suggesting people shouldn't have one. But what I'm saying is that it's going to become more and more important to understand how Google interacts with your website, how it finds information that it wants to use, the kind of information that it may want to grab from your website and present to people. So understanding how to manipulate that to some extent is going to become important. And adding a Google My Business listing, like even if you're not ranking locally, even if you're somebody who does not intend to rank locally, you should have a GMB listing because it adds so much authority to your website. Even just, if you're a national company that's, say, a fabrication company, you don't even deal with the public. If you want your website to rank so that people can find it easily to find out information about you, get yourself a GMB. So it's not only for local businesses. So these are the things that you need to be cognizant of on your GMB once you've actually got one. So what's important on there? What actually makes a difference? Well, the Google posts, so these now have become really, even just in the last few weeks, Google have now added videos. You can have videos. So this would be this would be great for you, but I'm sure you're using that feature from sort of the first second that it rolled out.
Let me tell a little story there. See, Google, I don't know how many weeks it's been. It hasn't been very long. It's maybe, a month and a half since they added that. Well, I thought, hey, this is really cool. And of course, for years, I never had my own Google My Business listing for myself because I didn't really personally try to do things locally until more recently. But I have one now, and I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity. And so I uploaded about 300 videos into my GMBs. Don't do that. It worked, by the way. It worked. If you go to my GMB, you can watch 300 videos that are in there. The only problem is I can no longer submit posts because the limit is actually 100, and I have 300 videos and about 300 images, and you're supposed to have a grand total of 100. But I was able to upload all those things, but the problem is now I can't delete any of them because I literally broke a Google, and they're actually trying to figure out how to fix it right now. So remember, it's less than 100.
It's interesting. Where did you learn that limit? Did Google?
I learned that limit when I talked to the person from Google because I couldn't load the back end of the GMB anymore. It just would sit there and spin forever.
Okay.
And she said, "Wow, there's only supposed to be a limit of 100 between videos and images, and you've got like 600 things in there." So that's how I found out.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think that will increase because they're going to realize now that people.
Sure.
If you're offering rich media options to people, they're going to use them. If they use them, you're going to quickly get up to 100. I wasn't even aware there was a limit of 100. They don't sort of make that public. So
I don't believe that that's on posts. It's probably just videos and images, because the posts are the way that they're gathering knowledge for their knowledge panel, and basically they're just looking for more information on whatever subject you're talking about.
As if you're posting regularly, but in general though, that is doing the videos and the posts is, for me anyway, a really good a good thing. It's something that very few people are taking advantage of, by the way. If you scroll through listings, you'll find almost nobody using video. It's like no one's doing it. So that's a really, you are, I know. But yeah, very few people have actually switched on. And in fact, very few people are even using posts, right? Which is really surprises me. But
I use them all the time.
Yeah. Well, there's a feature now. This is another thing that Google have rolled out. So I haven't put this in here because it's not a ranking thing. But one of the things that, another feature that Google have added to GMB is at the bottom of your dashboard, if you go in and look at the info side of it, at the bottom of your dashboard, it'll show you what other similar businesses have been posting. So you can actually get an idea of what your competitors are up to.
Well, and not only that, but people looking at your competitors, if you're the one doing the posting, they have the opportunity to see what you're doing because nobody else is doing it.
No, that's what I've found, that in all the GMBs that I'm controlling, I'm going in there and looking at the competitors to see what they're doing, and they ain't doing a lot. is what they're doing. So you're really in a category of one when you start using posts regularly because nobody's doing it. The ones that are doing it, they're doing it haphazardly, and it's, they might put out. I've got one lady who works in the fitness space here, and she's trying to she is rapidly growing her business, and she's up against some pretty major competitors, like a lot of the national and international brands, the franchised outlets, and they're just doing nothing. The ones that are using it, it's like they're posting stuff, and you think, why would your customers even want to know that? It's like you must have something more useful to tell them than what you've put in the post there. Or they're using it just to advertise their business, which is not what it's for. I think anyone that's been in the internet marketing space for a while understands that you've got to offer value to people. So nobody's going to click something because you want them to click it. You've got to give them something that's worth looking at. And these businesses fail really badly in that regard because they're just thinking advertising. And so they're really missing a big opportunity here to get a message out and to build rapport with their client base and to build I said to this one lady, she's never done video before. And I said to her, what you need to start doing now is some talking head videos. Just use your iPhone and just get your face on there. I said, because new customers will meet you before they've met you then. And so it's a great way to introduce yourself. You're going to have some kind of rapport with those. If you've got a good personality anyway, you're going to have some kind of rapport with those people pretty quickly. And then before long, they're going to become a customer. And then she's actually already got a lot of customers because she's got a great personality that have become advocates for her business. And now she can recruit more. And you just got to be comfortable with using video, but it doesn't have to be a Hollywood production. You don't have to be Ray Lane to do this. Anybody can actually do it. And it just makes a big difference. So that's been a great feature. But Google are rolling out more stuff all the time. I mean, now they've got the click to call feature, which I know you're using already, John, in the posts. Mm-hmm. The click to calls that they've recently added as a call to action. So
because 65 or 70% of the traffic is from mobile. So
yes, exactly. So
when they see it, they press a button and call you.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've seen is that although Google is winding things back in some respects in terms of making it difficult for you to rank, one of the other things that they're doing is putting a lot more features into GMB. So I'm a great believer that you want to just watch what Google's telling you. They'll tell you everything they want, really.
Yep. They
like
sure
with the posts. They tell you where they want you to share it. They've got a Facebook and a Twitter option. They've removed now the Google Plus option. So,
I honestly, my opinion on where they're going with this is kind of like Google Plus Part 2, because if you notice, they're trying to make almost like a social media platform inside of each listing, and I think that's kind of where Google Plus, which kind of failed out, is going to be.
I was going to say that. Do you know what the difference is this time, Ray? This is going to work.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it brings traffic, so people buy into that.
Yeah, exactly. What they tried to do before was to go up against the likes of Facebook. Well, that was just a stupid thing to do. They may as well have started selling Coke. They rivaled Coca-Cola or something. You can't. Someone that's an established brand, they've already got their market. There's no point going head to head with them. But Google now, I think, have finally switched on. Hey, why don't we incorporate this into something that we already do well? And so I think that's the difference this time. It's going to work really well for them. But and you can take advantage of that. I mean, I love what they're doing. I mean, I know that there's a nefarious element to it because we are seeing more advertisements too within that space. So Google are not altruistic. They're not actually doing this for us. I think everybody knows that. But nonetheless, you can take advantage of it and use all those features. So this is the next thing: is actively managing your Google My Business listing. So this kind of it's part of what we've just talked about. That people aren't doing it right. They're getting a GMB and they've got it there, and it may even be ranking to some degree by accident sometimes, and that could be because they've got some citations. They're not in an overly competitive market, so they're getting a few phone calls. Sometimes they don't even know where they're coming from, but they're doing nothing with it. They're absolutely doing nothing with it. And so you've got to be active and proactive with these GMBs. You've got to actually take advantage of the new features that they're adding and dive in there. I go in there every couple of days on my own listing just to have a look at what they're actually doing, if they've added anything. And then if they have, I'll start implementing stuff with the clients and doing it that way, and some lead gen stuff that I've got as well.
Can I just say something there?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
One of the things that about GMBs that fools people is that they get their listing and then they're sitting in their business and they type in a whole lot of different keywords. And what happens? Their listing pops up and they say, wow, I'm ranked in the front, number 2 or number 3 in the 3-pack. I'm really, really good, But it doesn't actually result in a lot of traffic. Because if they were to get in their car and travel 2 miles down the road, Google would be showing a different set of GMBs because of the proximity.
Without naming any names, I wouldn't. We actually saw a very, very experienced SEO make this exact same mistake, and he actually publicly stated that something that he'd been told to do, he said, I can't believe it now, I'm actually ranking for all these short tail keywords. And it was like, yeah, you're ranking in your own living room.
Yeah, and they were very, very, it was like locksmith,
So once you go a little bit away, and this person is very cluey about SEO, very, very cluey. But because the algorithm is completely different for GMB, a lot of people are a little bit ignorant of how it actually works, and especially because it's changing all the time. It's so dynamic. I mean, like all areas of Google, but GMB I think has probably been more dynamic than most. So that's the other thing. Actively manage your listing. Don't just leave it to chance, because it's too good an opportunity to leave to chance. You really should be working on them.
All right.
So we can flip that now, and we'll go on to the next part. We'll speed through this now so that we can actually start getting you something. So these are heat maps. They just show you. These are a couple that I grabbed off the net. These are actually from 3 years ago. So if you look today, you're going to find that it's even more concentrated on the 3-pack. But you'll find here that all of the action is going to be on the either the top listing. I mean, if you look at the first one, it's the top listing in the 3-pack that is getting all the action. And in the second one, it's the middle listing, which is getting all the action, plus the top organic search. And the top organic one in the first example is pretty good too. So that tells you that where all the traffic is being shared. Sorry?
It looks like that first one has a terrible star rating on the right. So
yes, exactly. So what you find is that the standout business in the 3-pack is not the one that's at the top. I don't concern myself with being number 1 in the 3-pack. And actually, what I have noticed, you may have seen this as well, Ray, that Google actually rotate them anyway.
Yes.
So you don't worry yourself with being number one in the 3-pack, or if I was number one yesterday and I looked today and I'm number 2. This is Google just doing what they do. Don't worry about it. If you're in there, it's all about getting the reviews. The business with the most reviews or good reviews. I mean, not if they're bad ones, obviously, but if the business with the most good reviews is typically going to get the click. And these heat maps are showing that. That you've got on the first one, you can see an example there. They've got no stars whatsoever, no action whatsoever. Big surprise, isn't it? Not. So it's really important. And this is what a lot of people do too. They're getting the 3, I'm in the 3-pack, but I'm not getting any phone calls. Do you have any reviews? No. We'll go and get some. You must know somebody. There must be someone in the world that will give you a good review, surely. And if there isn't, maybe you should be questioning.
You don't need 50 reviews either, do you?
Sorry?
You don't need 50 reviews either.
No, even half a dozen good reviews is going to start getting you some clicks.
Okay.
And like I say, if you can't find 6 people that are willing to give you a good review, then perhaps you ought to be thinking about a different business to get involved in. Okay, so that just briefly shows you then that that there is some action there. This is again from 3 years ago. I couldn't find anything more recent that anyone had done, and I must admit I haven't actually gone out and polled anything myself. I haven't gone to that extreme. I just empirically know that stuff works. So this is from 3 years ago, and this gives you an example here that the top 3 local clicks, we've got 69 clicks here, which was 44% of the action. Now, that's not bad at all. But if you consider that the likelihood is that out of those 3 top clicks, there was probably one standout business that was getting almost all of that 44%. So think about that in real terms. What that means is one business was probably getting almost 44% of all the traffic off the first page. That is insane. Yeah, and it's got even busier. I mean, the figures now will be even more skewed towards the 3-pack. I will qualify that by saying, though, it does depend on niche. I've seen that if you are a personal services niche or the trade services, so plumbers, locksmiths, AC guys, pool cleaning guys, they are the ones who will get more clicks. That type of business that's not a high value, it's not a high ticket item. If somebody's looking for perhaps a new $2,000 mattress for their bed, they're not just going to click someone in the 3-pack and buy it. But they would want to do a bit more research if they're spending that kind of money. And so, but the 3-pack's still great because it's probably going to get you traffic to your website. Where they will find out more about you. So that's why having the website is still important.
Well, you know what we've found a lot of times with those types of businesses, and we found this out with a lawyer client that we had years ago. And what it was and back then it was the 7-pack, it wasn't even the 3-pack, but we dominated the 7-pack and we had videos on page 1. And what we found was people didn't click the link on the video or the GMB as much as they just picked up the phone and dialed the number they saw.
Yes.
And we would get people that come in all the time and they're like, well, I saw your video on page 1 and it had the number, so I called it. Or I saw the GMB listing. Well, they didn't say GMB listing. Saw the maps listing and just called you. So that's what's going to happen a lot of times. And unfortunately, for us as marketers, unless we ask that person, we don't know why they walked in the door. Why did they come knock on the door? And the case of the mattress, it's because they saw the address, and then on Saturday they went to that mattress shop to check it out.
You make a really interesting point there, Ray, an important point, because looking at the stats that we've just looked at, what obviously are not included in those stats are people who just clicked and then didn't actually click to call or click through to a website, but actually just got on the phone or got in their car and went to that business. And that's going to be a sizable number of people. And so I know, for example, with the fitness, the lady that I've got in the fitness niche, she gets a lot of traffic to her GMB, but she doesn't get a huge number of clicks to call. So I was intrigued. I said to her, are you getting phone calls? She said, oh my God, yeah. It's like, it's gone crazy. Yep. But her demographic, they're older. She's in a niche where she's helping older people to keep fit, and they don't click to call. They write the phone number down and then ring it. You know, they're just that age that this is what they do. So that they are using the internet, but they use it in a very different way to younger people. And so they're finding the listing and they're literally actually writing the phone number down and then they're ringing later on. So that's how they're interacting. So yeah, so often the stats belie what's really going on because they're only going to tell you what people have clicked on, not what they're actually doing. Obviously, there's no way of tracking what, you know, if somebody's writing a phone number down. It'd be fantastic technology if they could. This one here, this actually pertains to the catering business that I mentioned, that after a year and 3 months now are, you know, they're going great guns, and all their financial worries are behind them, but certainly they can see some blue sky now. This was the traffic that was achieved after about 2 months. This was a one month. Total searches 541, and most of those you can see were just through discovery, so they weren't aware of the company. It doesn't actually tell you the percentage on here, but you can see it's a tiny number that actually found them directly by knowing who they were. So you can see this is after a very short period of time, and in quite a not an esoteric niche, but it's certainly not a broad niche. They're in the catering, but it's a specific area of catering, and 541 searches in the county that they were in, which is not huge. So they're not in a metropolitan area. They're located in an area where their major town is a town of 100,000. So it's not a massive population. I think the whole county is about 300,000. So it's not a huge population, and yet they're doing, you know, they get it. And the thing is as well, Ray, because they're in quite a specific niche that's not massive. A lot of the searches are resulting in jobs because there's more buyer intent. You will find this actually, that the more sort of specific your niche is, the more likely that it's going to result in an actual purchase. Because the people searching for it obviously are looking for something specific rather than a more general search. So that's just some stats on that. So we can move on to the next one. Okay, so I'm sorry, that was the fitness business. This is the catering one. So yeah, so they got even more, 787. So that's based on after 3 months they would get, this is their monthly stats. So 81, this does show the percentage, 83.1% through discovery. So quite a lot of new business there for them. And the rest of them were coming. And actually, interestingly, because they'd lost their website and their Facebook page, even though they were, say, at 17% of the traffic knew who they were, they wouldn't have otherwise found them because they didn't have a presence. So they would have had to go, if they wanted, they would have had to start looking at more conventional ways to find their phone number, which they probably wouldn't have done. So those were the stats for that. So we can move on to that. Okay, so this was a thing that Bright Local did, which kind of gives you a little bit more information on the importance of reviews. So listings with 5 stars, you can see that there, and 69% of clicks. So 4 stars, 59%, 3 stars, and 44%. So what they mean by that, obviously, is if you have that kind of looks like it doesn't add up. So to qualify that, I think most people will realize if you have 3 stars or above, you've got 44% of the clicks. So that includes people with 5 stars as well. But it's interesting that they can see from the stats there that how important it is to have good reviews, because people are using the 3-pack quite heuristically. You know, they're looking at it as a mental shortcut. You've got all the information that's sort of synopsized in this 3-pack, gives you a tiny little photo that might give you, because that's the important thing too, make sure that all your photos that you upload are good ones, because Google will rotate those as well. So you don't want some really horrible ones, because you might find that one day that's the one that they're featuring on your listing. So make sure they're all decent, and make sure you've got some good reviews on there. Make sure that your phone number's clearly on there so they can find you. And they're using these as a mental shortcut. It's like they can see you're close enough to them that they want to use you. You've got some good reviews. I can ring you or click to go to your website, job done. And if it's for something that's not too expensive, that is what they're going to do. Okay, so that's something, if you want to look further at what Bright Local have been doing, they obviously operate really, a lot of what they do is in this space, a good resource. So ranking factors for GMB. So there are essentially three elements to ranking in GMB. And this is, Google will tell you this. This is not something you have to go and find out. Google actually will tell you this. So brand prominence. So how well does Google know and trust your brand? Okay, and there are ways you can manipulate that. We go into that in depth in the course. Niche relevance. How relevant are your categories, keywords, and the content to the search query? This is something that a lot of people forget, that at the end of the day, it's not just about stuffing keywords everywhere. You've got to have some decent content that is relevant to what people are searching for. And you've also got to use the categories. Use the categories that are available to you. Most businesses, and you can do this now by there are softwares you can do to find this, but you can actually do this by just checking yourself, looking at the source code. You can find what other categories people have used other than the primary one. Most businesses are only using one or two categories when they could dive a lot deeper. Depends what they're in. I have a pest control business, and there's really only two categories I can use for that. But a lot of businesses, there can be up to maybe 10 or 12. I'm not suggesting you use all 10, but if they're relevant, you should. But certainly you should be using half a dozen or more categories if you can find them that are relevant to what you do. And that's just going to give you a lot more, you're going to be found under a lot more searches by just using those categories. So a simple little thing like that can really limit you. So niche relevance. So how relevant are your, we've done niche relevancy. How relevant are your categories, keywords, and content? And then geo-relevance. This is the thing that people miss a lot of the time, not just with GMB, but in local ranking in general. They're all about, I've got a plumbing website, I want to rank. So they go out and get guest posts on plumbing related things. Everything's about plumbing. And they forget, like even doing simple outbound links to Google Maps, or an outbound link to your local council office. Things like that actually help because they're telling Google that you operate in that space geographically. But getting geographical relevance for GMB is especially important. I mean, at the end of the day, this is maps. So it's all about geography. So you've got to give Google lots and lots of signals about where it is that you operate and the areas that you cover. So how relevant is your listing geographically to the proximity of the search query? Now, the one thing we can't control is the proximity of the search query. So where does Google think, it's something, it depends how people are searching, but where do they think that query is coming from? They're going to produce results in and around that area unless you give them a good reason to show something else. So there are ways you can manipulate this, but essentially if you just threw a listing up, let's say you were a plumber and you just threw a listing up and did no optimization, there are lots and lots of plumbers. Chances are there's going to be another plumber on the same street that you live on. So you're going to be really fighting for, unless they don't know about GMB and don't have a listing, you're going to be fighting with all these other businesses, and they're only going to be shown in very, very tight proximity around where the search queries are coming from. So this is an important, probably the most important element of ranking in GMB, is understanding geo-relevance, how to manipulate it, and how to get tons of it so that you can, really let Google know that your business is relevant to that particular search query from that proximity. Okay, so those are the key things. They're essentially the key things that are built into that ranking algorithm. So how do you create these factors? Okay, so citations, obviously, everyone I think probably knows about citations. Press releases. Organically, press releases, a lot of people, they don't work so well anymore as they used to, but they're still pretty good if they're done properly. They're still pretty good for GMB, actually. They can make quite a difference to GMB. On-page optimization, crucial. Really, really important. Don't just throw a website up and expect to get ranked for a lot of keywords in Google My Business. What's going to happen if you don't do your on-page optimization properly? You're going to be limited to the keywords that Google associates with the categories that you've listed. So unless you tell them otherwise, like when you pick a category, there are going to be obviously other keywords that are closely related to that category, and Google knows those. And you have a reasonable chance of ranking for those over whatever distance, depending on the competitiveness of your niche. But you're not going to rank for anything else because you're just not telling Google anything about you. So on-page optimization is important. Make sure that you use title tags properly. Make sure that you are linking out to the various places locally that you need to be linking out to. Make sure your backlinks are geo-relevant as well as niche-relevant. Coming into your site, really important. And then geo-brand and niche networks. We'll go into a little bit about what they are as we get, John will explain a bit more about that as we get into what we've created in terms of a software and how that goes about creating those. But as a brief, you're creating some kind of network, whether that be PBNs, whether it be blogs, Web20s, whether it be Google sites. However you want to do it is up to you, whatever people are comfortable with, but you do need to do it. And we do a combination of social profiles, blogs, and Google sites. They're our sort of go-to thing. And we will typically syndicate through the Web20s, and then we will build backlinks from Google sites and use those as our niche, brand, and geo networks. So that sort of covers that. And so finally, this is a bit of a mind map. It kind of looks a little bit intimidating, but it really isn't. This is a bit of a mind map, which just shows you, it gives you an idea of using a network consistent of Google sites and where they would point to and how you would sort of construct it. If you're using software, you would build more than this. There are certain ways you go about doing it, but you can build quite a lot of these. And these are the places you point them to. So obviously to your money site, but also to your GMB listing, your gmb.business site. So that's the little one-page business site that Google kindly give us that you can't really get any information on because it's too small. But it is actually quite an important site. It's worth building out. And then GMB posts as well. This is something a lot of people don't think about doing, is sending links to the posts and sending links to the reviews. It all goes back to your GMB listing ultimately. You've actually got probably the most diverse range of places to send links to with GMB. There are literally, you will end up with hundreds and hundreds of URLs that you can send links back to, which all end up back at your GMB listing. But they kind of, they pillow your links to some degree. They act as a bit of a buffer. And you can get an awful lot of diverse linking by linking through all these places. And also it gives a boost, it just gives a boost to all these individual components, which all helps because you can get reviews indexed. Posts are now indexing. They didn't before. That's a new feature too. About a month ago, I think, or so, they started indexing the posts. So and that tells you something. We won't touch on that, but use your imagination. Why are Google indexing posts now? So yeah. You'll get it. So that's a really really important to send links back to those places, and also traffic. Some people like to use traffic bots. Be careful with that. If you get it right, they do work, but you've got to be careful with the ratios and how much fake traffic you send because Google will know. So don't over egg the pudding on that one. But it does work if you get the right bot and use the right proxies. Okay, so that really sort of explains. I can maybe hand over to John now and he can sort of take you through. I've sort of explained the importance of building these networks. It is very, very important. John can now explain a little bit about what we've created that's going to actually do that for you on autopilot.
Okay, Doug. How do I share my screen? Can I just click take the screen?
What I'm going to do is are we done with the slides? Because I'll just end the slides.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we'll stop that. And then
there we go.
You should be able to choose up at the top there to share a screen.
Okay.
and then pick the location. And while you're doing that, you know, everybody's been asking a lot of questions, and please continue to do that. We will answer those questions towards the end. This webinar, Jim, has a wonderful feature where I can mark all the questions so that.
Yes, I'm seeing them, and I see some of them are asking me direct, but you know, we can't answer them while we're actually talking. So
no, we're more than happy to go through.
Yeah, they're all listed, yeah. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to turn my screen share on, and I'm going to just try and find the one that I want to share.
All the pages you have open there.
Oh, yeah. So I believe it'll be this one. All right. Now, I'm not seeing what's happening here.
There we go. We now see the HCG.
Okay. Now, Paul was talking about a knowledge panel. This here is a knowledge panel. And it's for my business. And you can see here's a post. I don't know if you can see it here, but it says it was 15 hours ago. There's one from 2 days ago. And, you know, we post regularly and we use nice, attractive pictures. And it has the call now feature. So if they see it on a mobile, they just hit that button. Okay. So this is how Google is actually collecting information about your business. And it's incredible. All you have to really do is learn what needs to be done with Google, what they want, and then you can let them, you know, you can let them have whatever they like. Because what you give them will depend on how they're going to rank you. And if you keep on giving them decent information, good information, you will see they love it. Because as Paul said, they're ranking. Some of these now are starting to rank. So this is what a post actually looks like, and you can actually share this. If you see this little link here, if you click there, you can share it to Facebook, Twitter. So what we are doing is we are sharing it to Facebook, which is the HCG Facebook, and from there we are syndicating them through an IFTTT network, so that they're going out to all the Web 2.0s that we want. So once we do a post, we just click share to Facebook, and then, wow, it gets syndicated. Then we come here and we copy this link, and we use this link. That's the link that we use in our when we're linking to that particular post. Let me just have a look here if I make this bigger. Okay, so yeah, you can see the actual GMB. Okay, that's where I'm sitting at the moment. And let's just have a look. Right at the bottom here, you can find all, this is where you can write a review. People can write reviews. These are the photos that they get. Basically, this is what it uses. In this, looking at it like, yeah, you can't actually get into the inside. You actually have to log in. And I'm in a different Gmail, yeah. But this is what a GMB is all about. And if you actually search in Google for something like, let me just say, let's have a look. I'll say HCG Centurion. Okay, that's coming up. Now, this is even better than a 3-pack. You know, they talk about the 3-pack. To me, this is a lot better because this knowledge, you know, if somebody can ignore that, they're doing very well. Because, you know, this here is one of my competitors, okay? And this one, yeah, they actually are in this town, Centurion. But if they search it, they see my GMB. The only reason is because this is really well optimized, and we keep on building links to it. So that's the whole, this is what when we talk about the knowledge graph, Google is using this to collect information to to ascertain what is the best information and the most relevant information for you when you do the search in the location that you're at. Okay, so but now there are ways and means of manipulating it so that, you know, I can go far away from you, and I can be like 50 miles away, and my GMB still comes up. That shouldn't happen. Okay, but it does, and that's what we're going to show you how to do. Okay, so let me just see now. All right.
While you're doing that, John, I'll just quickly mention about the Chrome extension we use. I forgot to mention that because this is a useful tool for people that do GMB. Because now it's very difficult. There's so many maps packs that come up. You know, even in my city, Perth, we have a population of only 2 million. But there are probably, for a competitive niche, there could be anything up to maybe 1,000 map pack combinations across the whole city, depending on the search proximity. So what we use now is a little tool. It's a Chrome extension that's free called Manual Geolocation. And what you can do is you can move a pin around on a map, and it emulates where a search query is coming from.
Oh, cool.
Shall I? Let me just. I'll say Manual Geolocation.
A lot of people use iSearchFrom. But the problem with iSearchFrom is it doesn't drill down to specific suburbs and whatnot. It'll only give you a town or a city. So it's pretty limited. This allows you to literally plonk the pin anywhere, and it's telling Google that you're searching from that point.
Okay, so I'm going to say HCG. I'll just say HCG Centurion again. And you have to sort of do it twice. Okay, I'll put it here. Okay, well, I'm getting it that I'm still showing in Durban, Paul. Quite interesting.
Have you opened up the, if you want to show them the Chrome extension though, John?
Yes, here it is.
Yeah,
so what you do here is you can, like, if I put this on a town, Pretoria, let me just make this a bit bigger. And you can also make the area a bit bigger that it's going to cover.
Okay, well, I'm not seeing it, John.
Yeah, I think it's because it's in a different window, so you're sharing the window.
It's in a different window. I can't share it. I do have a video that I can show.
I'm taking notes on it right now because this is really
manual geolocation. It's dead easy to use. It's self-explanatory, really.
I'm just trying to find the video. I know this is the driving directions one.
Yeah, the driving directions, that's a tremendous tool. And I don't know if people understand exactly what that is or why that's such an important thing, but I know, you know, in my business and with businesses I have with others, we've been talking a lot about this lately. In fact, I'm pretty sure that that Alan is probably on the call here somewhere, and we were just talking about this a little bit this afternoon and why that's such a big thing. So if you can explain that would be really good, because I don't think people understand.
Yeah. Okay.
I will now. I've got a video which Paul explains it, but it's 12 minutes long, so perhaps we
could just do a very brief synopsis of that, John, if you want, because I'm conscious of people's time and
and for those of you listening, if you go into the chat, Alan is here, and he just posted the actual link to the extension, so you can go in there and grab it.
That's good. I was just about to do that. Okay, so what the idea with Google My Business is, it's like having, if you have a GMB listing and you don't have any reviews, any posts, any links coming into it, it's a bit like having a website, but you don't have any visitors. And that's exactly what's going to happen. You have to power it up. And the best way to do that is by getting citations, structured citations, unstructured citations, and then getting links, the most powerful links that you can in the shortest possible time. And the problem is, Valerie, I see, asked earlier, how do you do it when you've got lots and lots of people that you've got to, that you're handling? Then you need to automate it. That's the only way that you can do it. And you can put it on a server and just let it run. So I actually have a video here that I'm going to show you a little bit about how we're doing it. But first I'll tell you why and how we're doing it. We've got what is called a Google site creator. That's what GeoGenius is. And what it does is it creates Google pages on the fly. So you would put in your keywords, and then you would put in the towns or the cities or the suburbs that you wish to be found for, and it'll go out and it'll go and search for information on those cities. Okay, then it'll store them all in a database. And then it'll search for things to do, because Google loves that. Interesting places of interest in that city. Okay, it'll store that in a database, and then it'll start building your Google site. And when it does that, then obviously it uses your article that you've put in, the images you've put in, but it also builds separate pages, which it'll be like things to do in a certain town. You'll see it now in the video. And what it does is it actually grabs links from those important places that Google says are good to do in that town, and it links to them from those pages. So what you're doing is you're getting an enormous amount of relevance, geo-relevance from the Google site to the page. And it also puts a place location. Every place on Earth actually has a place location. And it grabs that place location and puts it in. So when Google spiders that page, it knows straight away that this page is about this town or city or suburb. And because the page name might be a keyword, might be, say, weight loss thing, it's what do you call it? Co-occurrence, co-citation. What would the correct word there be, Paul?
Occurrence, yeah.
Co-occurrence. So it's seeing that name, weight loss, with that town. So when somebody's driving around in that area and they search for it, it's going to show that page. That's the idea. Because what it also does is it goes and it creates driving directions. Now, for those of you who don't know about driving directions, what that is you can tell Google, I want like a driving directions. I want it to go from point A to my business. So you would say, so now we're talking about a town. We're targeting a town and or a suburb, which could be like 10 miles away or 20 miles away from here. And this is how you get over the area business, so that Google will show your stuff further away, and you can start building it out further and further away, because you've got driving directions which are embedded on each page. Okay, so that's like a brief, and what we're going to be doing after this, everybody is still on the webinar. At the end of the webinar, is we're going to give you that driving direction software. It really is incredible.
It's really powerful. I don't know. Have you had a chance to play with it?
Very barely. I only got it yesterday, so I've only played with it a little bit. So that's why I was excited to get on here to really understand it also.
We're adding some features to it. It's going to be put on a server shortly. There's some other features that we're adding which we can't do within the format that we've got it currently running. But once it's on the server side, we can add some more juicy stuff. But yeah, there is actually a paid product. It's $37 a month that doesn't do a fraction of what ours does, and it works super quick. So you can build hundreds of maps in seconds. It's really, really fast and really easy to use too.
Sorry about that infinity thing. Can you see
yes.
The page now? This is actually what we're going to give you. Okay. And there's a video here which explains it. It's not too long, 10 minutes. But essentially, if you wanted a driving directions map to embed on your, in any way, you can embed it into blogs, into Google sites, Google pages, blog posts, all sorts of things. You would put the GMB location here. So let me put my one in here. Just so I can give you a brief. I won't go through the whole thing because it'll take more. So say now I wanted to go, if I've clicked there and I wanted to go from, I'm in Sandton, so I'm a little bit away from Johannesburg. So I'm going to put in Johannesburg here. Okay, and then I can, it's got an option now, make the PIN the destination. If you say yes, then it's going to make your GMB the destination. So in other words, you're going to be telling Google, I am, you know, people come to my business, you know, we service this area, so I want people to come to it. Whereas like a plumber, he might say no there, and so that it would be going from the business to his. You could also put in a radius, and you can put in driving, walking, cycling, flying, even if you wanted to. Okay, over here you can put in keywords. So if I'll just put in diet here. Okay, you can also put in anchor text. Okay, you can put in the iframe width, whatever you wanted. But I think default now is at 100%. I'm not sure what this is.
Yeah, so you can make it smaller if you want to, but default is 100%. Okay,
and then what it does for you is it'll create a driving map, a URL, and it'll create an embed code. So I'm just going to click submit now. Watch this now. I'm going to click submit. And nothing happened. Why not?
What are you trying to do? You've not got any radius in there, John?
I've said add more location.
Oh, Johan, are you okay? Under point-to-point URLs, it should be giving you something there.
Okay, sorry. Okay. All right, so what we did is we said we want to go from the business location to Johannesburg. Sorry, guys. So, yeah, I've got a driving direction map, which is coming from Johannesburg to my GMB, and somewhere in here, no, I didn't put a keyword in. So let me show you what the...
yeah, the keyword is in the iframe at the bottom, John.
Yeah, okay. So this you would embed. This is where you would embed it. So your so it's 100%. You can see it's going to be. So you'd embed this in your. This will get in. You put it into your blogs or your Google sites or whatever properties that you're using, your Web 2.0s.
I'm seeing, you know what I'm seeing with that, guys, which is really exciting, and a couple people have kind of asked about this, but that is something perfect to add to your YouTube videos that you make for businesses as well. Having driving directions right in there, that's a great citation.
Yeah, and also what you can do is you can enter schema in here. Now, this is probably the most powerful feature in that when you build Google Sites, the new Google Sites, you can't put structured data in there. You can't put your schema in there, but you can put it into your bed, your map that you embed, and it doesn't strip it out. So, that makes it even more relevant, the actual pages that we build. So let's have a look at what this looks like. Where am I? Yeah. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, you can see the driving direction.
Yes, 29 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So you can see it's coming from Johannesburg to HCG Diet System. All right. Now, if we were to use the radius, let's say we put radius in miles. Most people will be using miles, and we entered a radius of say 10 miles, and okay, you could put your over here keywords and schema. You could put that all in there. When you say submit, okay, what it's doing now is it's giving you 8 driving directions. So what this is doing is it's actually building a map in a radius all the way around. So it's moving a few degrees at a time, where it's because now we've said 10 miles, and it's telling Google all of these areas. So, but it's doing it from a specific point all over the place. So it's really, really powerful. That let me just take one of those. I'll take one down here and put it on here. So you see this one is coming down from almost from the east. Okay, if I come back here and I take the last one. So what we're doing is when we're building Google Stacks, we're putting all 8 of these, embedding them into our Google Stacks. Okay, so this one's coming from polar opposite. That's coming from the west there, and this is coming from the east. Okay, and so that's what each one of these will do. Each one is a little bit of a radius. So when we're building the Google Stacks, we take all of these, the Cloud Stacks, and we stick them in just like that, and it puts all 8 of them in, and you're covering the whole. Sorry.
Yeah, by putting multiple radiuses in, Ray, you can just build hundreds and hundreds of driving directions maps instantly.
Yeah, sorry about this.
Radius around your business. To just sum it up, though, because what people might be wondering, what is the point of doing that? Every one of those driving directions maps is associating those 2 points together. So you're sending a signal to Google that the end destination and the origin point are in some way related. And that's what helps you to relate geographically, or one of the elements that helps you to relate geographically between those 2 points, your business. And the idea of using this software is, because you don't know where the IP search queries are going to come from, you want to create as many relevant points as you possibly can in and around your business. And so this is the easiest way we found to achieve that. And you can do it instantly and easily.
Okay, so let us show you how you can do that instantly and easily. Ray, if you could play that video for us.
I sure can. So here we go. We'll play it now. And guys, but when we get this started, if we could, make sure that you guys can hear the video when it plays. So just put a 1 in the chat box. We know that you're hearing the sound. Here we go.
Okay, so now we're going to run through of the software actually running. So the first thing that it does is it scrapes for the geo stuff that is going to create pages with. So as you can see there, it's searched for Johannesburg, and now it's finding things to do in Johannesburg. And it scrapes all of these and stores them in the database, and then it puts in the GMB location at the top where it says business location, and then it says Johannesburg under add more location, because I'm going to create a page for Slimming Drops in Johannesburg. Then it finds the place ID. Every place in the world has a place ID, and it just found Johannesburg's place ID and stored it. And it'll now start building the site. Okay, it's uploaded a header image. It's named the page already, and it's now starting to put links in. It's embedded a YouTube video, and what I'm linking to here is I'm linking to the GMB, and I'm linking to some posts on the GMB to power them up. Okay, it's now finished the main page, the home page. It's just going to create an About Us page, and there's a bit of text there, and then it'll do the Contact Us page. And there I've just got a call or WhatsApp, and then it'll embed our actual GMB, the GMB that we want to be targeting. And so all the links are going to that GMB, and the posts that we're linking to are also on that GMB. And now, as you can see, it's creating a things to do in Johannesburg page. And there it's got some information about Johannesburg. It's now going to put a driving directions map in, which goes from Johannesburg to the GMB location. That's the place ID below the map that you can see there. And now it's starting to insert the things that it found to do, the interesting things that it found to do. Now Google absolutely loves this, because what it's actually doing is it's linking directly to Google. If you click on any one of those links, like it says Carlton Centre there, it'll take you to Google's map location. So these things index like crazy because it's got all these Google links. Google absolutely loves it, and it's Google wants you to keep things in Google, and this is exactly what this software is doing. At no time does it go outside, find any outside links, link to anything else. Only Google properties are and Google locations are referenced. And even when it's linking out, it's linking to a link on the GMB. So, and the GMB actually links to our website. So indirectly we're linking to the website. Now this is the main reason for building this whole thing, is because we want to be found for that term, Slimming Injections, or Slimming Drops Johannesburg rather. And so that Slimming Drops Johannesburg, that'll be hyperlinked to our GMB, and possibly some one or two of the posts. Now there's the driving directions from Johannesburg again to the GMB listing. A YouTube embed. Also the YouTube video is called Slimming Injections Johannesburg. And this is a post that it's trying to embed, but Google won't allow us to embed their posts, so we just put a link there. And let's put some information in. So now what it's going to be doing is it's going to name it, and it will set up the navigation correctly. It adds a few numbers at the end so that you always find the name that you want. Otherwise, you might want Slimming Drops Johannesburg, and that might not be available, or Slimming Drops. So let's have a look at what it did. We go to Output, Site URLs, open it, and there you can see the pages that it created. Okay, that's what the page looks like. And these links, those are hyperlinked to posts. This one's hyperlinked to a post which has a video on. This one's hyperlinked to the actual GMB, I believe. Yes. We have a YouTube video embedded there. We have an image. This image is optimized. We've got, well, I just went right past all the copy and that. But the copy is, it's all properly written copy. And you don't have to spin the copy because there's that much other information going on, the geolocation stuff, that I find I'm not even, when I come to do the Slimming Drops page, I'm not spinning that copy. Okay, now you'll remember when it was building these. Now you can see it's linking directly to that in the Google Maps. So these pages rank as well because Google loves you curating their content. Okay, now I'm opening the actual Slimming Drops page, which is that's what the whole video is about, and that's linking to another post, the first one, and that one is probably linking to the GMB. And then we've got some information about Johannesburg, we've got the video, and then we've got some copy there. So this copy here, this is a copy I was talking about. I don't spin it. Putting so much other information on there. Okay, the video is finished.
Yes, it is.
Because we're putting so much other. All right. You don't have to spin the article. I don't find it makes any difference.
No.
Okay. So that's about. Should we answer some questions now, or should we go straight on to like doing?
Well, it seems like we've got a lot of people trying to figure all this out, and certainly a lot of great comments about the software, which, you know, blows my mind. Just so you guys know, while the video was playing, I couldn't hear the video, but we could talk to each other. So John was commenting along the way to tell me what was going on in the video itself. And, you know, I mean, what a cool concept. As I think it was somebody in here, I can't remember, just said, oh my gosh, this is amazing or whatever. And it really is, because doing all of this manually would be a big time pain in the neck.
Oh, it's right up there with root canal treatment.
But believe me, it works. You do a couple of these, and you don't push it out of that GMB, not easily. Okay.
Well, and I'll be putting it to the test because I've got a couple to test it on this week that I'm going to really push and see what happens with it, and hopefully get some amazing results with that. Although it's tough because the one that I was talking about, it's already jumped all the way to the top. So, you know, we'll see, see if it can help.
What you need is a new one.
That's right. Well,
that's
a new one.
Just keep going. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe we could answer some of the questions, Ray, if you want, and then that.
Yeah, that would be fine. And just so we, John,
some of that's going to weave into sort of tying that together with the course we put together and what that's going to give people, as well as the software. So because we work with, I don't know if you've already put it out there that we've just put together a fantastic deal that's only for you tonight. Okay, so this is something that we've never done before, and we haven't put out in the general sort of space. So this is just for your attendees. But if we fill some of these questions now and just answer some of what they're asking.
And I just posted the link to the offer, so you can check that out. The software right now. Do you guys want to give a brief overview of the offer? Because I know you guys are doing a little bit different today than normal, and then we can jump into all these questions that we have.
Yeah, so I'll let John put the offer together, so I'll let John handle that question. And then After that, so if you can just tell me the questions, because I can't see them. So just.
All right. Well, a very big part of the offer is actually the course, which will take you from 0 to hero, basically, in GMB. What we've done, Paul actually spent like 650 hours putting this course together. There's over 60 videos, about 20 PDFs, and they're not long, boring videos. A lot of the courses out there, because doing the research for this course, we bought all of the courses, and some of them I had to watch the courses in the morning, because after an hour-long video, I can't stay awake. I fall asleep, especially like when I'm on the second shift, like I am now. Okay, so these videos are all like 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and you can use it almost as encyclopedia, where you can just quickly go log into the course and go and look up your particular question that you want to do, or you can't remember exactly how you did it, and also, we've had the course out for about 2 months now, Paul. We've added about 6 new videos, because it's fluid. Google's changing things, adding things all the time. So, we'll obviously, and we both use it in our business. We're not software people per se. We are internet marketers. So
everything we build is because we want to use it. That's where that's where all the ideas stem from.
Yeah.
But we're doing something already and we want to automate it. That's where it all comes from.
Yeah, and anything in the course has been tested. Do you want me to show them the course quickly? Just
Sure, you can certainly.
It'll take 5 minutes. Let me just.
What I'll do is I'll pull up some of the questions here while you're getting that ready.
Yeah. So if you want to throw some of those questions at me while John's finding that, I can answer some of them. But as I said, because of my internet problems, I can't actually see them.
First and foremost, Frank wants to know if we can get a copy of the slides. And actually, I don't have PowerPoint. And when I pulled it up in Keynote, it was actually missing the white background, so you couldn't read anything. So if either of you guys could make like a PDF version, that would be great. Let's see. Vinny would like to know, how do you rank for multiple locations and multiple keywords with one GMB listing?
Okay. When you say multiple locations, it depends what you mean. If you're talking about multiple cities, then you probably can't do it with one GMB,
right?
Because of the way that they've changed everything. If you're in a fairly sort of obscure niche, then you probably can. There are ways that it can be done, and you can use the driving directions software as an example of one of the starting points to do that. But yeah, it's getting increasingly difficult now because there is a point where Google, because this is Google local at the end of the day, it's a local algorithm. So Google wants to serve up businesses that are local to the person's location. So if you're located, say, in Tampa, just as an example, you're not going to rank in Orlando.
Right.
You're not going to do it because you're just not geographically relevant to that place as far as Google can see. As I say, the only exception to that would be if you were doing something that was so obscure that there was no other business locally that did it, in which case they would serve up your result.
The one thing to add to that is when you set up as a marketer, when you set up your GMB account, so that is literally not the listings, but the actual account with Google My Business, you'll have access to all the different GMBs that you create. And if you've got multiple locations, you can manage them all from one account. It's just you'd have to make a new one for each city, which is what you'd want in those cases anyway, because, by default, you would lose out to other people that are physically located there. So if you've got a physical location in multiple cities, you'll want to create multiple listings and then use your GMB account to manage them all.
Yeah, absolutely right. You've got to become a little bit comfortable with wearing a dark colored hat from an SEO perspective.
Well, there's one other thing you can do with this, and not that we're trying to promote for them because I've had my issues with them, but there is a social media management tool called Sendable, And one of the things that they've added is the ability to post to your GMBs. So if you want to create those posts, you can put in all of your different GMBs, make one post inside of there, hit a button, and it'll go out to all of them. And it'll post on each of them. So there are some options out there. And that's going to grow because they just released the API like a month ago. So they're the first ones to get into it.
Yeah.
But
Paul could probably tell you something about that.
Yeah, we're trying to get the API at the moment. It's like they're closely guarding it. We'll get it, but it's.
I expect many JVZoo products in the near future that will post to GMBs. Let's put it that way.
we will have one very soon, and it'll also do the question and answers, and that'll probably be added to GeoGenius as well. Anyway,
Vinny follows up with that. He says, "Can you rank in all towns in one city?" So I'm thinking, if you're talking about one major city and they've got small communities, you can if it's small. It just depends on competition, and if you're in a small city and you've got some suburbs, you may. But if you've got a physical location in those suburbs, you might as well go after them. You can create one for each area. So, and the other thing too,
GMBs, but you can manipulate that algorithm to a great extent. So again, using driving directions, one example, using a lot of geo networks. What we're effectively doing with the geo networks, or I call them geo networks because there's a big geo component, but with these G-site networks, what we're effectively doing with those is branding keywords. So you're creating a brand around the keywords and you're associating those with your business. And that works really, really well. Because what you've got to consider, if we go back to what was in one of those slides very briefly, the three elements that have got to come together for Google to want to show you over another business. So you either have to be more geographically relevant than another business. Now that's tough if they're on the doorstep of the search query. But there are things you can do to send those signals. The other thing is brand prominence. So what you can overcome is if you've got Joe's Plumber down the road and he hasn't really done much with his brand, it's not difficult to overcome the brand prominence that he has. So you work on that, and then Google are going to show you rather than him. He may be closer, but they're going to show your business because it's more trusted in Google's eyes.
And I know that
making sure niche relevance, making sure you're more niche relevant.
Yeah. And I know Google is kind of manipulating that a little bit right now as well, because in the old days, it went from center of town. So the people that were furthest away from center of town kind of got left out. And now I know they're kind of swapping things around a little bit. They want to give some love to those guys that are a little further away. And so you're going to see some of those things that are going to show up that are not closest to you.
And Centroid
niche too.
The Centroid really now becomes the IP address of the search query.
Yep.
So the Centroid has become dynamic now rather than fixed as it was before. And which is it's better in a way. I mean, people are complaining about it, but what it does is it allows the smaller guy to actually have a chance of ranking at all.
Absolutely.
So although it's a pain in the butt in many ways, it does give us some opportunities that we didn't have before. So you got to take the right.
It gives you the power. Sorry if I can interject there.
Sure.
It gives you the power to compete with the guys that's got huge dollars. Because if you know how to optimize your GMB listing correctly, and you do it, because it's not rocket science. It's a step-by-step procedure. Do this, do this, do this, do this. And if you do that and you do it religiously, you're going to outrank them. It doesn't matter how many dollars they've got.
Yeah. You'll knock all the big boys off.
Yeah,
I guarantee.
Yeah. So
I've done it. This lady in the fitness niche, John, you've seen what I did with that one. She's ranking all over the north of the city, which is the limits of where she wants to rank. And we've knocked every single major player out of the maps.
Nice. So I just wanted to interject one thing here, because Edward said he was having trouble when he clicked the button to get to the page. He said it wasn't working for him. Other people said it is. It's working for me. So it might just be a lot of traffic coming there. So if you get an error, just try again, and it should work out for you. Going back,
send us a message if there's any issues, and we'll fix it up.
Yeah, it seemed to be okay when I clicked on it now, so it might have been temporary. Alan wants to know, doesn't Ray look good today? Yes, he does. And Alan, I will see you in what, 4 days or something like that. So I'll look good then too. Mark wants to know what happens for those who run a business from home, but don't want people to know exactly where you live or how you or how can you just list as a general area? And that's an option right inside there to choose.
Yeah,
you know,
just hide your address.
Locations.
Yeah, just hide your address. It doesn't really make it has a little bit of an effect on ranking, not massive.
They expect some businesses like plumbers, for instance, nobody goes to their plumber's location, and a lot of times that is a house. So they go out to you. So you can choose that as I go to my clients' locations, and it'll give you an area instead of a location.
Yeah, you can just hide.
Let's see. When are we? Oh, that one we fixed. That was he was having trouble seeing it. Flash, my good buddy, also in your neck of the woods, guys. He's out there down under, actually. So. But of course, Paul lives so far away down under that he's nowhere near Flash. But same part of the world. Question is, they give you a domain name, then ask you if you want to buy a domain name. Has anyone purchased a domain name directly from Google My Business? So that's when you create the business.site.
Yeah.
He wants to know, Google offers you the opportunity to buy a domain right from there. I'm not sure who they use, but you can probably get it cheaper.
I'm not bothered. I know people that hasn't made any difference to ranking. Yeah. I mean, that's something I'm continuing to monitor. I've got a lot of guys that I work with in sort of underground maps world who are playing with all this stuff at the moment. They haven't seen any significant differences in using it. So,
very good.
Yeah.
I am seeing my .business site rank.
They're becoming quite powerful now.
So it is worthwhile pursuing, but it's just the standard domain. So you don't need to buy their domain.
Yeah, I think he was talking more about, does Google have a similar price and things like that? And
they're just trying to cut out GoDaddy and Namecheap.
I bet it's not. I bet it's a bit more expensive than what you can buy elsewhere for.
Because you can add your own. So if you purchase it on Namecheap, you can forward it to that. So you can do it manually without Google. Google will probably make it a little easier for you, so it might be worth the extra couple bucks depending on how techy you are.
Yeah.
So just a matter of that. Tim would like to know, how can we test how you are ranking from a different area? That would be that Google plugin.
Yep. So Google Chrome extension, manual geolocation. Look for that extension. Brilliant tool. And the best part is it's free.
I'll be taking that one up at the end of the webinar. So. Richard, by the way, I got I'm assuming this is the same Richard that sent me a message on my phone. We did get your question here because he didn't see his question pop up if this is the same one. It says, I've begun to notice 4 listings in the Maps 3-pack. The first one, of course, is paid.
Ad.
So will this continue and get worse with more ads? Knowing Google, probably.
Okay, let me give. I'll give a little nugget out here. Actually, I'll give 2 little nuggets out here for people. There's 99 people have stuck with us, so thank you guys for staying. And this is going to be your little reward for staying with us. So 2 things. First of all, have a look at listings in San Diego. Okay, just now this might seem, why the hell would you be looking at listings in San Diego if you don't live there? San Diego is one of the cities or the primary city that Google uses to test stuff. Okay, so if you want to know what Google are going to do in your area in a year's time, go and have a look at what they're doing in San Diego today. Okay, so start looking at maps listings in San Diego. That's going to give you a very good idea of what Google are up to. Now, it doesn't mean that those things are going to be rolled out nationally or globally, but it tells you what they're playing with. So it tells you what they're thinking.
Nice.
So you can get a window into Google's thoughts by having a look at what they're doing now in their beta grounds, and San Diego is one of the primary ones. So that's a little piece of free advice. The other thing is I'll give away, I meant to do this earlier and I completely forgot, so I'll touch on this very quickly. 2 ranking signals, major ranking signals, actually really good ones. Your posts, when you post regularly, right? Post at least 3 times a week if you can, and add keywords, categories, and GM modifiers. So when I say GM modifiers, the areas that you cover. Not in every post, don't spam it. But let's say in this post you mentioned that we cover these 2, we service these 2 areas and use one of your keywords. And then another couple of areas in the next post and use a category. But make sure over the course of several posts over several weeks, you cover all your areas that you service and all your categories and keywords. It works. Okay, Google are going to pick up those signals. The other thing is using coach your clients to use keywords in reviews. Now, this can be difficult, a little bit like herding cats, but it's worth the reward, okay, because it makes a big difference. If you look in a lot of the Google Maps packs, you'll find that there's a little snippet underneath the reviews. So underneath one of the reviews, you might find a little snippet, right? And where that's come from, under the reviews section, where that's come from is a review, okay? Google have pulled that from a review. So Google crawl the reviews, they look at the reviews, and they pull information from them. And they highlight the words in there. Now, this is Google actually telling you, hello, we're looking at this, right? And they actually do read all the keywords and categories that you put into those reviews. They not only do they use the snippets, it helps you rank. Also, the more reviews you get, it helps you rank. Okay, even bad ones, ironically, although that's probably going to change. But try and get as many reviews as you can. I was promoting before using these shortcuts. There are a lot of them on the net that you can use. They're shortcuts, links that you can send to a customer where it takes them straight to the review page. Yep. I've heard recently, though, Google are getting very skeptical of these because a lot of them are already pre-filled with 5 stars.
They've removed the pre-filled 5 stars from that, so you can still send them the listing, right, okay, but the 5-star part is gone.
Yeah, because it's obviously that's clear manipulation. So if there are still, any, I guess if Google has stopped that, that's a great thing. I knew that was never going to be good. You have to give freedom of choice to customers to make a decision about whether it's good or not.
It's so suspicious if you only got 5-star reviews, isn't it?
I mean, you can't please everybody. So if it looks like you're pleasing everybody, you're probably not. Now, obviously, if you use fake reviews, you can craft exactly what you want to put in them, but be careful with that, guys, because Google are very, very clever at finding out.
Yes.
If you're doing spam reviews, you better make sure they're coming from residential IPs, not proxies, and you better make sure that they are local, because if you've suddenly got 200 reviews from Pakistan for your business in New York, that's not going to look good. And Google are very, very good at picking up where they're coming from.
John just said a no. It's tough to get it, but work with your clients.
And
work with your clients, get some
real
reviews
as well. I've got a client right now who she is kind of new. She doesn't have reviews. One, she's a realtor, so obviously you don't have hundreds of people that you've worked with. You might only work with a handful of people a year. And she's getting started, so she's only got 1 or 2 people she's worked with. But what I told her, and this is something to think about, not every review has to be about the business itself. For instance, if you've got people who have worked with you personally,
exactly,
get them to review you as a person. So I've worked with John many times. He's great. He always does what he's supposed to. 5 stars. There you go. So you can do that. Just make sure they're real reviews. Don't be cheating, but you can get people, people that you used to work with in other areas, anything like that, where they know you and they can give you an honest review.
I agree. I mean, technically these may be borderline, but at the end of the day, if they know that you to be a good and honest person, that the review is not fake in terms of its content, right? Then I'm ethically happy. I would be comfortable with that. And anything that gets you a start. I mean, at the end of the day, we all have to do things that are flying a little bit close to the wind when we start off, because there's no other way to get some traction. Yep. But just be careful about how you go about doing it. Make sure you're not leaving yourself exposed, because Google is getting very.
Fiverr do not know you. Just remember that.
Sorry?
People on Fiverr do not know you. Just remember that.
Yeah. People on Fiverr, yes, they're worth avoiding most of the time. There are some good ones, but not for doing fake reviews. Avoid.
So, all right, we got Valerie, and actually John did a follow-up to this, so we're going to put this one in there. She says, all of this is fine if you have a few clients, but what if you're targeting hundreds, as in it's going to start to get impossible to manage? And John says he's got 30 clients to manage. How's he supposed to get all these posts out?
Yeah, well, we're trying to solve that problem by building a tool that's going to allow you to post to multiple accounts and schedule them and everything. So there's still going to be work to it. I mean, there's no getting around the fact that it's going to be work to manage these.
Yep.
But it's weighing up, where do you put your effort, and are you going to get a reward for it?
Well, there's also another solution for that, which is, hire somebody to manage X number of them. And you could get, for something like that, you can get somebody overseas for, $5, $6 an hour to do that for you and go in and just manage those things. And they can have 5 or 6 clients that they do it for.
You can't scale and do it all on your own.
Right.
No, you can't. But you will get sufficient traffic from GMB if you do it right.
If you got 100 clients, don't be cheap.
Don't be cheap. No. Don't be cheap.
Richard asks, and this is a good one. This one kind of goes back, is how do you get your GMB listing? And this is really good because, it takes us back to the beginning here and something we should talk about. First and foremost, go to business.google.com, set up a Google My Business account. So this is not your listing. This is a Google My Business account. And from in there, you can claim businesses, you can add businesses, and then start to manage them from in there.
So you can claim a business, any address pretty much that you can get a postcard sent to. Now, Google do have terms of service. So if you're going to strictly adhere to Google's terms of service with GMB, you are going to struggle to scale a business. It comes down to what you're comfortable with doing, okay? Worth having some throwaway Google accounts, right, in case you get some listings taken down if you're going to scale this. For, say it's lead generation rather than client work. If it's client work, it's easy. They're going to have a genuine GMB for the business that they're listed as. That's fine. If you're going to do this in the lead gen way, or you want to create some listings in places where you don't actually have a physical presence, that is against terms of service. Do I do it? Yes, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, John does it too. But just be careful.
The great thing is, what I've noticed lately, and this isn't 100%, but if your business that you're working for or with is in a business area, you start to you can verify by phone now a lot of times. So you don't even have, which is actually in our home. They made us send a card for that. But for many people, they're not making you send the cards at all, which is really nice.
It's very hit and miss. There are ways. There are vendors too that sell them. So if you get stuck, if you want to add more locations, and you've not got a physical address that you can actually get a card sent to, there are people out there that will sell you a GMB listing. So there are ways to do it. There are lots of ways to do it. Again, as I said earlier, it depends on what color of hat you're happy wearing. Mine changes every day. It depends on how I feel. Sometimes
in fact, many of these questions that have been asked, we covered it in far more detail in the actual course.
It's all covered in the course. I mean, obviously we need to talk about the course because it's a part of why we're here. But there are a lot of courses out there. There's probably altogether, I think there's probably about 8 or 9 sort of courses that are touted by people who really know what they're doing. There are a few other courses on the market that just they're not worth anything. And you do get what you pay for to some degree. But what we've tried to do with this course is carve it up into small videos, so they're manageable chunks that you can use as a reference point. So it's more like an encyclopedia approach to it. So most videos don't run more than 5 minutes to up to 15 minutes long. That's typical for the course. And each one is labeled for its specific content. So you can just find it easily. A lot of the courses that I've been through all of them, a lot of the other courses, what they do is they'll have an hour and a half long video. And then you've got to try and remember what was in it and where it is, which I've got memory like a goldfish, so I've got no hope of actually remembering that. So it's really difficult. So I wanted to create something where you can come back and reference it really easily. So you don't have to remember all this stuff. You don't ever have to remember any of this. You can just keep referring to the course and say, right, how do I build a network? Okay, let's look at the video again. And there's no limit to how many times you can watch it, so that's fine. Just keep watching it. And they're short enough that you won't get too bored. So that was one of the primary things that we wanted to do. And it's packed with content. And as John said, we're continually adding to it, right? We haven't created one of those courses where 2.0 is going to come along in 6 months' time, and you've got to now fork out a load more money. I hate that. I hate when I've spent it.
Unless you get it for free. If you get 2.0 for free, then it's okay.
Exactly,
Yes.
but most of them don't. There's always what they'll do is they'll send you an email saying you're one of the lucky ones that we're going to let, because you're grandfathered in. You can get this for $300, and you're like, oh, I feel so happy.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see here. John, this is a great question here. He wants to know, do you see an increase in the 3-stack rankings using posts? He asks because he's got a couple of clients. He's done posts for them, and he didn't really see much of a difference, at least not yet. My thought is, it's part of an alphabet soup of things that count towards the 3-stack. So it's one of those things that's going to help, but it's not going to dominate it over everything else. So you've got to do everything properly.
The frequency of posting matters a lot, right? If you're only posting once every week, once every 2 weeks, not going to make any difference.
Okay,
Post
that's
at least
really
3 times a
so
week.
I need to increase that quite a bit then.
Yeah, and get those
Actually,
keywords and categories and geomods into the post.
Yeah. John, remember when I showed the post earlier? I showed an actual post, and I showed you how you can share it, and then you can share it to Facebook and Twitter.
Syndicate.
What you should probably do is to set up an IFTTT ring. We actually, my other partner, he sells them for $7 a whole ring. So, which is, you won't get it cheaper anywhere. In fact, you can get 5 rings for about $25. And then, so every time you make a post, you just hit share to Facebook, and then it'll syndicate all over the place.
The other thing that you can do as well on the Twitter one, John, is I don't automate Twitter anymore because they're onto it and they don't like it. But even actually, the first time I created a post on Google and I shared it to Twitter, I got a warning from Twitter telling me that a bot had been used and that they weren't happy.
Wow.
But I just made the assumption that, well, Google, it's a post from Google, surely that's okay. So I ignored it, and it has been fine. But it just gives you an indication of how switched on Twitter are to it.
See, I've never had an issue with Twitter. In fact, I found them in my cases to be the easiest one to deal with. That they post everything and other people block it.
Yeah, I've had problems with it. So I don't automate Twitter anymore, other than through Google. So the other thing that I do is I post manually to Twitter from the posts, which once we've got the software, we'll be able to do that automatically. And then I grab a widget, okay, and I create a widget of the timeline, and then I can embed that wherever I want to embed it. So I would embed that on my website, and I'll embed it into my Google sites as well. And then every time you post to Twitter from Google My Business, it's going to syndicate through all of those properties that you've embedded the timeline on.
Very cool. All right. So let's see. Wakar asks, can we add, this is a good one. Can we add one more listing in order to add more posts and videos then? The official answer
one more address.
But yeah, you need to have more than one address if you want to do that properly.
Yeah. But the more GMBs you've got, the more coverage you're going to get.
Yeah,
it is better, but becomes harder to manage. So,
pros and cons.
This is a funny one.
Okay, you can give me a credit for next week's Upwork account, and I'll tell you a few secrets.
Terry, this is a different Terry with 2 R's, wants to know why are other businesses not using video? You know what? It's because they have no clue that you can put a video into a GMB. They probably have no clue you can post. They probably have no clue you can upload images. They hit claim one time, or somebody claimed it for them, and then they've never been back. They've never touched it since because they have no clue. And that's basically.
No. I think you hit the nail on the head there. They have no clue, just in general.
Yep.
That's
So okay, this is interesting, Sean, and this will be a great one for us to answer here. So you could use this effectively for MLM health products. That's kind of interesting because in a way, yeah, I mean, if you're selling that product and you're selling it to actual humans, why not? That's basically what you're doing with the HCG isn't necessarily an MLM, but it's the same kind of idea. So,
yeah.
Well, that's what we do. We target it. And interesting, you said earlier that you use telephone calls. Every single one of my videos, every single one of my blog posts, every single one of my geo, anything I do has got call or WhatsApp and then the number. Because in South Africa, they love WhatsApp because it's free.
Sure.
And but I mean, and my wife and my daughter-in-law, the telephone never stops ringing, which is great.
So Sean has an interesting question here. He says, "Can you switch out phone numbers if, say, a business that you're working with stops paying?"
Look, yes, you can. The only thing you have to be aware of, if you've got listings at addresses that you don't have access to, the physical address, this may cause a re-verification.
Yes.
Okay. In which case, now there are ways to prevent that, but we can't go into that. But yeah, it will.
There's always ways and means.
There's ways and means. But yeah, so that's something you have to be aware of, because if it causes a re-verification, you're going to get a postcard. It probably won't be phone. It'll be a postcard sent to, you think about it, if you're changing the phone number, they're highly unlikely to phone verify that. It seems a bit kind of obvious. So that's something to be aware of. Any major change on the GMB leaves you exposed to possible re-verification. Especially
the address. If you change the address, you're almost guaranteed they're going to send a card out again.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so now we get into the fun part. Now, I'm amazed at how many people have stuck around this long. This is incredible. But for those of you that left, if you watched the replay, you missed out on something cool here. So you got to stay next time. So for those of you that are staying on here, we're going to get into the business part with some of the questions here, which I think is a lot of fun. We've gotten this from a few different people. So somebody listed as V, and a few others asked the same thing. How much do you charge people for this?
For the course?
No, for doing this as a consultant.
Oh, I see. Oh, right. Okay. Look, that's going to vary depending on the niche. Okay, because each niche is going to be different, and one will be tougher than another to rank. So, the principles that we teach in the course, for example, you can rank anything, but you're going to have to do. Say, if it's a really simple niche, you might only have to do 10% of what we've got in the course. If it's a tougher niche, you may have to do all of it, and you may have to do quite a bit of all of it, if that makes sense. So quite a lot of networking, quite a lot of G sites, etc., depending on how complex the niche is and how competitive. And you charge accordingly. But to give you some ballpark figures, you don't want to be charging I wouldn't be anyway, charging any less than $500 a month for a simple niche. And up to, well, I mean, it's limitless really, but on average, probably up to around a couple of $1,000 a month. It'll rarely go above that, except in exceptional cases. Like if you've got a business and they've got 10 locations and it's a tough niche, you're into a lot of money a month. But they will pay it. Believe me, once they start seeing the results, they are not going to want to be without you.
Yeah. On average, on average, I think the guys are charging between $1,500 and $2,000 to set it up, get it all set up and run, and about $500 a month. That's a ballpark figure. That's what we would charge.
And one thing that I've discovered right now when we're getting new clients is that a lot of the businesses, they're not big fans of the monthly thing. And so what we've done is taken what would have been the monthly and made a 6-month contract, one lump sum, and they get our attention for 6 months, and we get paid up front. And that seems to be so. It's another.
That's actually not a bad number, because what happens in a lot of cases, and you'll have seen this yourself, is that once people have got the results and they're getting the phone calls, they tend to forget that you've actually done this for them, and so then we don't need to pay you anymore because we've got what we want. Obviously, to some extent, that works, but then they are going to find their rankings tail off eventually because something will change in Google that needs fixing, or a competitor comes along and does more than them, and so you've got to add. But that's where, if you've used your model, you can go back and say, look, we can top this up at any time if you find that competition's coming in there.
Yeah, well, and after the 6 months, we the goal is to keep them on going. And one of the ways, and for those of you that are thinking about doing this, one of the things that you can add on to this, because with the Google My Business, just the listing itself, you're posting, you're doing different things, but one of the things that you could add to this is to do ratings. Actively getting people to rate the business. You get those 5-star rankings, those 5-star ratings, and they're going to notice that. And that's a very tangible thing. It's like, oh, look, this month we had 20 new people give us 5-star ratings. The month, previously before they started, we got 0. So they're going to be able to see that. So if you've got something that you can actively do to get them ratings, that's going to be noticeable. It's going to be tangible. They're going to be able to go, okay, these guys are doing something here because we're getting those 5-star ratings.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's a tangible way of demonstrating your usefulness to them. And the upside of that too is that if you're managing posts for them and you know what you're doing, so you're adding those keywords and categories and geo mods to the posts, and you're also coaching their clients on how to leave a review that's worth writing. From the perspective of click-through, so that review is actually constructive, instead of, oh yeah, I work with Bert, he's a nice guy. I'm like, oh well, yeah, that's really, really helpful. He's really nice, but he's utterly incompetent. So a constructive review that actually helps someone, but also got 1 or 2 of those keywords in it. What you're actually doing then is you're getting the clients, through your posts and the clients, you're actually doing all of your SEO on an ongoing basis that you need to do once it's ranked. So there's no additional work, and you're billing for this.
I've got a great question here that actually is right up my alley because we're dealing with this at this very moment. George wants to know, he's a real estate agent in his office, and the office already has a GMB listing. What can he do to kind of market to himself or to piggyback on that? What do you guys recommend for that?
So what he means, he wants to add services, or he wants to increase?
Well, in other words, his office, like if he's a Keller Williams realtor, the actual realty has a GMB listing, but each individual realtor is really a business of their own, and they go under that umbrella. So they've got an office in that location, but they want to market themselves, not the whole office. Obviously, it can be filtered because it's the same address, and it can be very different.
Yeah. Well, look, it depends. Are you comfortable with outranking your boss? Because
the answer is yes. They are.
He wants to get. He could list the GMB at the same address. He's going to get filtered immediately by Possum, and then by using driving directions maps and things, he can actually get himself unfiltered, and probably end up getting his boss filtered. So the main listing will end up filtered.
Do you recommend doing like a Suite 102 at that address?
If it's at the same building, it's going to get filtered probably, because what Google are looking at is, look, these are not only the same line of business, but it's exactly the same company, and therefore there's a conflict. So they'll rank one or the other. So you can easily make it be yours that they rank. Believe me, that's not hard to do, unless he's doing a lot of work, which he probably isn't. And even if he's doing SEO work, it's probably going to be centered on organic, not maps. So most SEOs don't understand maps, really. They know a bit, but they don't know a lot. So typically they're going to not be doing the things that we would teach you to do. But yeah, he would be able to outrank his boss if he's comfortable doing that. The other option is that he could get a listing at his home address and hide it.
Yeah. That's another thing that I know people.
Yeah, and then he could rank in his own right then, and that's not going to affect the main company listing. So that's another option. But definitely do it. Yeah, I would do it for sure.
All right. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one from Sean. And he asks, how do you charge people before they've ranked in the 3-pack? This is a good one because when you get started, chances are they're not in the 3-pack. So no. I'll tell you my opinion on that. What you're doing is you're charging for physical activity at that point. So you are claiming that listing. You're optimizing that listing. You're picking the proper categories. You're setting up all these different things. And they're going to be able to see the physical things that you're doing immediately that justifies that, because you can, document it all. It's like, here's what you had. Here's what we've done. Now it should, over time, it's going to get better and better because we did these things. So that's what you're charging for upfront, is the physical labor for that.
If the flip side of what you're asking there is actually how do you get someone to trust that you can actually get them in the 3-pack and that they're not just throwing their money away, then what I would suggest you do is the same as that I did in the beginning, which is you go out there and you offer to work either for very little or for free, get 2 or 3 under your belt, rank them, and then you've got some test cases which you can take and say, look, I've done this, this, and this. I can give you evidence that my process works.
And by the way, that's exactly what I did. That realtor that I've been talking about, she had just gotten back into the business. She had been injured. She was completely out of line for, she was offline for months and months and months. And so when she came in and I spoke to her, this is something that I decided to do for her for free because I wanted the experience of really working with a GMB, and she didn't have the capital to be able to do that. So at some point, she'll become a paying client, but she's kind of my experiment at this point. So
and you have to do that.
Start somewhere. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and the good thing is it gives you the confidence. So you'll find then, because you've become confident that you can actually do it, people won't actually question you. It's amazing. I work in a licensed industry, and I've only ever been asked once when I was actually going out and doing the work. I was only ever asked once for my license. The reason is they didn't dare question it. If you have that air of confidence about you, people will not question you. But if you go in and go, oh, I think I can, well, hello, maybe not. Maybe they'll just move on. But, I think it was Bertrand Russell who actually made a very, very important observation years and years ago, the British philosopher. He said the problem with the world is that all the idiots are brimming with confidence and the intelligent people are full of self-doubt. So what you've got to do is get rid of that self-doubt. Just cotton on to the fact that there are lots of morons out there brimming with confidence who are making a fortune. They know nothing, but they're confident, and it's the confidence that carries them. So if you have a combination of that confidence plus the knowledge, nothing can stop you.
Nice. And one other thing. Oh, sorry. The delay kind of gets us caught up here. So the one other thing that I would say too is, when we're talking about providing services, now, when you pick up this program, you're going to learn how to do those GMBs and really get the software that's going to help you to rank them and everything else. But like I said, reviews are a huge part of this as well. That can be a big help. And if you want, contact me afterwards, because we've got systems that will help you to do that and provide them with actual software that really shows them what's going on. So if you need something to boost that confidence, where when you charge them, they're getting something right away, let me know, because we do have a platform that can help with that portion of things. It'll help with the citations, and it'll help with the actual ranking, the ratings rather. So
those things are important to have. Anything that increases your confidence and the client's confidence in you is worth investing in, definitely.
And let me ask you guys this. When it comes to ratings, because here's what I see all the time, which blows my mind. The 1-star guy is in the 3-pack. The 2-star guy is in the 3-pack. The 1-star guy is in the 3rd spot on the 3-pack. And then, 4 through 10 have 4 and 5 stars. How important are the actual ratings? And in some cases, the guy's got 1 star with 1 review, and somebody with 5 stars and 20 reviews is not showing up in the 3-pack. What do you think about that? How important are the ratings?
They're important. Once you get in there, they're important, and they can keep you in there, and they do help with ranking, but they're not a strong enough signal on their own. So if somebody, for example, he might be rubbish and he's really disappointing every customer he goes out to, but he's done his homework and he knows how to rank, then he's going to outdo you, even though you've got a business that services people that are really happy customers and are writing reviews every day. It's a balance. But you've got to get the fundamentals right first, which is your citations, a few press releases, getting your networks in place, doing your on-page SEO. That's really critical. A lot of these guys that have got 1-star reviews, go and have a look at their websites. Their websites sometimes are terrible. Right? So, Google relies on you telling them what they need to know. If you're not telling them that you should be in the 3-pack, they're not going to put you there.
And I really think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just going to say, I mentioned it earlier, but one of the things that all the guys are bringing up at the internet marketing conferences, the search engine conferences, is this: if you're not doing Google Maps and you're not doing videos correctly, but this time next year you might as well just throw your keys in and go and get yourself a job, because you're not gonna have a business. So it's really, really important to understand the fundamentals of how to do it, why you do certain things, and how to do it better than the next guy. And because then that way you can dominate. Honestly, I've got pages here for certain keywords, because I've got a number of different websites and GMBs. If you put that in there, I've got 10 listings on there, and I've probably got 5 on the next page as well. And and that's because it takes a lot of time. But this is my bread and butter, so that's what I do over and over and over. So I'm not actually mainly about selling software. It's about getting these things done and getting more done. Now we want to go all over the country. Same with Paul.
Interesting. Coming back to your point before, Ray, as well, something else that's just come to mind that affects it. The age of the listing actually makes a difference to the ranking too. So you could have somebody that's effectively in the maps pack by pure accident, and the accident is that they happen to have been around a while. And they're not easy to knock. They're not difficult to knock off. Rather, they're actually quite easy to knock out of maps, because the only thing they've done right is being around.
Right.
Which is, it's just, I've been there a while. That's it. And Google are ranking them on that basis. So once you know what you're doing, those listings are not hard to dislodge.
Yeah, and the other thing that should be mentioned here is, I had somebody that I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about this, and they were already ranking in that 3-pack, but they had like a 1 or a 2-star rating. And like I told them, I said, hey, you know what? You're in that 3-pack, which is great, but right now you're just advertising to people that you're a 2-star company. So it's important. You've got to, even if they're already there, you've got to get those good ratings, because it's what we saw that in the heat map. The guys that were on page 1 there, but didn't have the good rating, was being skipped. So you're just advertising that you're terrible, and you don't want to do that.
If you think of it in those terms, that it is the same as going on Google Ads and saying, hey, Joe's Plumber, we're terrible. We'll turn up late and we'll overcharge you. You're probably not going to get the click. Yeah, and essentially that's what you're doing when you've got these bad reviews. Yeah, and you if anything, you'd want the hole to open up and take me out of the 3-pack till I fix it. Yeah. But for some reason you're there and you've got to deal with it. But yeah, reputation management is critical. If you get a bad review too, reply to it immediately. I mean, you should be replying to all your reviews anyway, at least thanking them for the review. Yeah. But if you get a bad one, reply to it and give an explanation as to why, what went wrong. If it was a mistake or error, admit it. Hold your hand up and say, I'm terribly sorry that happened. It's not an experience we want our customers to have. Please reach out to me and we will fix it for you. Once you've even done that, people reading the reply will go, oh, well, at least they've done the right thing. Because most people are forgiving. They understand that you can't get it right every time. But if you've given no feedback, if you just ignore it, then the assumption will be that reviewer is correct in their review. You haven't challenged it in any way. And when I say challenge it, I don't mean don't challenge it in a confrontatory way, because that just is never good.
No, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. And so, we've seen, we had one client that we picked up a couple months ago here locally, and he only had one review, and it was a 1-star review, and it wasn't even one of his clients. It was somebody who thought that he was the company. And he's like, well, yeah, but that's not even me, But people reading it don't know that. They just see the 1-star rating and the complaint. Even if it's not your client, you are, that's what people are seeing. You've got to do something about it.
What you do is try and get those reviews taken down. Obviously, you appeal to Google and say, look, this wasn't for our company, try and get it taken down. But that can be difficult. But in the meantime, the thing you should definitely be doing is replying to that review and saying,
and he did do that. He did reply to
it. Terribly sorry you had that experience, but believe me, if you deal with us, you won't experience the same thing. you're
And
qualifying.
get more
them.
reviews. Get additional reviews. That's what you need.
Yeah,
Make more and more and more, and those bad ones will be pushed down.
Exactly.
almost
If you've
5 stars.
genuinely got some bad reviews, get them buried under a load of good ones. That's
Exactly.
That's exactly what we did, because he's now like a 4.8 or something like that. You know, so not hard. One review. The other thing too is, guys, if you're doing search, and by the way, get a tool that finds the local businesses and that tells you what kind of rating they have, because we found that to be huge in our business. Is we find out who's got the bad ratings, and if you do it manually, it's going to take you hours and hours and hours. So get a tool that will pull in the businesses, pull in their ratings, and then send emails to those specific things. When I get businesses, we'll search out 100 businesses or so in an area, and we'll go, these are the 5-star guys. They get a certain message. These are the 4 to 1 star guys. They're going to get a different email from me. And the people that have 0s, they're going to get another email from me. And they're all going to target those specific things. Hey, you've got a 0. In fact, what I do for the email, if they've got a 0, the headline of the email is, "Are you guys still in business?" You think that gets an open? Heck yeah, it does. Heck yeah, it does. And then for the guys who have the bad reviews, and even the guys who have the 5-star reviews, the headline of those emails is usually something along the lines of, "Did you see what John Smith said about you on Google?" And that gets their attention.
Often,
big open rate.
Yeah, often, you'll probably find this well, right? Often they'll say, "No, what did he say?"
Well, that roofer client that I was talking about earlier, he called. I sent that out. It was one of the first times I'd used that. I said, "Did you see what so-and-so said about you?" And I got a phone call 10 minutes ago. And I pick up the phone and all I hear is, "Who said that?" I'm like, What? Where'd you see that 1-star review? I said, "Oh, it's on Google." And and he sent me PayPal money 2 minutes later. So it was, and it was bad. It was great because we got our new client, but it was bad because my expectation now was, wow, I send out an email, I'm going to get a client in 5 minutes, which is not always the case. But it was amazing. But people, they open that and they go, "What do you mean somebody said that about me? Where's that?" And he had no clue that there were even reviews on Google. He had no idea. Didn't know that. He claimed his listing, but he had no idea.
Yeah, it's surprising a lot of people don't. And there are a lot of unclaimed listings too. There are people who've got unclaimed listings on Google.
Absolutely, we go after them all the time.
Yeah, very good source of clients is to go get a piece of software that can go and find those unclaimed listings and then target them. Yeah, great way of getting business.
Douglas mentioned Profit Maker FX. That was one that we used for a while. That one does. I believe that one pulls the listings, but I know it'll pull the businesses in. That's a good one. And if you do need a software for that, let me know. I've got some recommendations I can give you. Just contact me off the webinar and we'll discuss that. But you definitely want to have a tool because we've done it manually where we called it red dot farming, because you'd go in and you look for all the red dots and you'd start farming all those and you put them into a database and it would take you hours to do it. But yeah, you want to definitely switch over to a software. So.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what has definitely become apparent to me is that to do well in the internet space now, it's taking much more work than what it used to. There's a lot more things and hoops that you've got to jump through.
That's why automation is so important now.
Yeah, if you don't do it, well.
All right, we've got one important question here. Craig says he's been on here for 2.5 hours. Can you go over what's actually in the offer?
Okay. Yeah. I think.
Well, it's essentially, John, you put the offer together, so you just cover what we're actually.
Okay. Well, there's two things. There's three things actually. The one is the course. What we've done is we actually have for the people on this webinar, you can get it at a 50% discount, and this is not a scarcity thing, but the price will, once the countdown timer hits 0, it's going to stop. Okay, that's for sure, because we're selling it at $497, which is half the price of the next course, which doesn't compare to ours. And what you got now is you're getting it at at a 50% discount. Then we've got a bundled offer where you can get the course and GeoGenius for $297, which is like a really good deal. And the third offer is you can just buy GeoGenius, which is $67, and that has a recurring fee of $30 a month because it's a Google product and it needs a lot of tender, loving care all the time. And that is on the link that it's on the page that that Ray has given you.
Okay, somebody just mentioned in a Skype message to me that the countdown timer has reached 0 already, so there must be some problem with that. So we need to address that. So
yeah,
it definitely
not 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't. So we will fix that.
Oh, really?
You've got
Okay,
7 days.
I must have my date, but it's going to last 7 days, guys. We can't let it go longer than that. I already had one guy today that applied for an affiliate link and then bought the product. Okay, so I wasn't exactly born yesterday. I'll keep the money, but he's not getting the affiliate link. I can't wait for him to ask for his commission. I wonder if he's on. Okay, so honestly, getting the course at half the price, which is $247, you are getting an enormous amount of goodwill there from us, because when we decided to sell it, it was very hard to decide to sell it at $500, $497, when the next nearest one, which is Semantic Masteries, which is just a couple of webinars, sells for $1,000. So you're getting it for a quarter of the price, really. So, but the best deal is to get GeoGenius with the course, and then you're really going to be in a position to kill it. We're also going to be adding quite a few things to GeoGenius as we go along.
We're going to expand, and we've got the Skype group as well, guys. And there are quite a lot of the more sensitive issues that we don't want to put in the course, because we're aware anything you put in the course will get out there beyond the people who bought the course. That's a fact of life. So there are certain more sensitive things that we're going to teach in group. So people who come by the course by illegitimate means will not have access to the more sensitive things that we're going to teach. And they're things that are a little bit more grey hat in nature, but they're very, very effective. So there, Ray's just put up there. That's the deal. And we're not allowed, obviously, to give you any ideas of what you could make from doing this, in terms of guarantees or anything. But I would be very, very shocked if you didn't make your money back on this, on the first deal that you go out and get within a month. It won't even take you that long.
I can tell you, the guy that called me on the phone and said, "Where'd you see that?" paid more than that. That was 5 minutes after I sent out or 10 minutes after I'd sent out my first prospecting email. So and don't expect it to happen every time. That's rare and does not happen, but it can happen, and it did happen, and we made more than what this charges here. So
the usual experience that I find, Ray, though, if I go out and say target a couple of hundred companies, within a few days, I'm going to get 2 or 3 of those that have bitten and are really interested in doing some work. So it's a numbers game at the end of the day, but make sure you, like, some of those ideas for headlines you get are fantastic, especially, are you still in business? I mean, I'm actually going to steal a variation of that myself. That's just an amazing way to get someone's attention, because, like you say, you think they're going to open that, they are for sure. So it's a great way of getting some initial engagement and getting them intrigued at least, and then you can just after that. I guess it comes down to your personality and how confident you are. But I would say, obviously, anyone who buys this course, they've not gone through it yet. When you initially sort of look at what's in there, you're not necessarily going to have the confidence to go out and actually sell your service. But if once you've played around with the course for a bit and watched the testimonials, and you start getting some actual results for yourself, then you'll have the confidence to go out there and actually stand in front of a client and ask for real money and do it with a straight face. And so that's part of the issue, isn't it? When you go out and even when you quote big figures, if you can stand there and quote a big figure and keep a straight face while they're looking at what, they'll soon get with the program, because at the end of the day, you're telling them what you can actually achieve for them. Now, you've got to be mindful of the size of the business too. There are some that I just wouldn't go after. You know, if it's a one-man band type of outfit who's probably not spending any money. In fact, I would check, are they spending any money on AdWords? If somebody's not investing any money in their business, they're probably going to make a poor candidate. Okay, but if you found someone who's not ranking that well in maps, maybe has a poor reputation with the reviews, but they're spending a bit of money on AdWords, perfect candidate.
I was going to say that's another thing too, because we're still getting people asking about what to charge. And here's what I would say. If you're already in this business and you've messed with AdWords at all, you kind of know what businesses you can charge more for, because your lawyers are going to be paying, $70 to $100 per click versus your plumbers who might be paying a lot less. So you can kind of gauge it based off of that. You know that, okay, they're paying $100 a click. It's a very competitive niche. And if you can help them, they're going to pay you more for that. If it's a beauty salon, chances are they're not paying $100 a click. They're not going to pay you the top notch. You'd have to adjust that accordingly. So location and niche are going to determine somewhat what you can charge and what you should charge for that. So
exactly. If you're doing an obscure niche, for example, where the cost per click is very, very low, then it might be worth considering just doing getting ranked for a one-off fee, because it really won't be hard to do it. And it's more a case of you just doing the work that they could easily do themselves, but they just don't know how to do it. And you do that, and it might take 10, 15 hours of your time to get them ranked in the 3-pack. And you could charge them a one-off fee of $1,000 for doing that, say, for example, and get yourself $75 to $100 an hour, and walk away. You're not going to get money out of those guys.
Right?
Go for it.
Right. Please refresh your page.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me refresh there.
I just didn't put a time in to start.
Oh, so there we go. So there's the timing. Okay. Perfect. All right. So we've got, let's see. Oh, one question I do want to answer for everybody. And I can't believe how many people are still on here after all this time. It's amazing. But there is a replay. It's the same link that you used to get here. After we're done, it'll automatically turn into a replay. And I'll also, as you probably already know, I will email everybody to let you know. So pay attention for that as well. But one question people have, and I think this is a really good one. Do you guarantee anything to the businesses that you're bringing on as clients?
You've got to be careful with this, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with Google, and the results that you get are going to be variable for many, many reasons. And anyone that's done any SEO understands that. But by the same token, it's difficult to get people's confidence. What I would suggest you do is pretty much the same as what we have to do in the internet marketing space in terms of the in the US. They've got the typicality of claims law, so you can show what you've been able to do for other people, but you can't absolutely guarantee you're going to get the same results. But what you're implying is you're saying, look, I don't see any reason why we won't, but I can't give you an implicit guarantee because we're dealing with Google, which is there are so many variables in it. The other thing that you can do if you want is you can say, look, we're going to charge a one-off fee to get you into the 3-pack. If you're not happy with the service, then we'll give you a rebate or whatever. However you want to structure it. I mean, it comes down to offering some kind of guarantee. If you can't guarantee that they're going to get into the 3-pack, which nobody can, or certainly not within a specific time. I mean, if you keep chipping away at it, you will get them there. I don't care who they are, what niche they're in. If you keep doing the stuff that we teach, you will get them in the 3-pack eventually. Yep. But what you cannot guarantee is how long it's going to take. And people these days can be quite impatient. I want to be sort of, I'm struggling at the moment, but can you guarantee that I'll be on $500,000 a year by next Wednesday? It's a difficult one, but that's kind of. And the sad thing is the industry's kind of conditioned people to expect big things, even though they know they're not going to happen. So you've got to be, you've got to kind of temper your what you tell people, but be mindful at the same time that you want to get them to work with you. So it is a difficult one, but I think if you go in and you're really, really confident and you've got some test cases that you can show them, people
and there
in
are
business are not so stupid as they think that. Sorry,
you can. And there are some things that you can guarantee. You can guarantee you're going to claim that listing. You can guarantee that you're going to optimize that listing. You can guarantee that you can even guarantee that you're going to get them more reviews. A little bit of a gray area, you may or may not, but chances are you can if you're using the right stuff. You're going to get somebody to review it. So those are the types of things you can definitely guarantee, which shows them that, hey, we're going to do all these things. You're not doing them now. You know, and I had I had somebody that I had talked to. It was a lawyer, and it was an immigration lawyer, and she had terrible reviews, and she wasn't ranking. And you know, she told me, she goes, "Well, it doesn't really matter because I don't get any business from online anyway." I said, "Yeah, I know." But you will if we do stuff for you.
I wonder why.
Yeah, it's quite funny when people say things like that.
She didn't.
I think that just that combination, like if you do what, like you said there are things that you can categorically guarantee because these are concrete things you're going to do. And then if you say to them, look, and this is what that has resulted in the past with these other clients, and therefore we've every reason to believe we can achieve the same thing for you.
Yeah. And remember, you know, ranking in that 3-pack is not your end goal. Your end goal is to get them more money. And quite honestly, you think about it this way. If you don't make it to the 3-pack, but because they've got 5-star reviews, people start calling on the phone and they get more, you know, more business. Do they care that they're on the 3-pack if they're getting more business? No, they want more business. They don't, you know, they may not even look to see if they're in the 3-pack. And if they do, maybe they're checking from their house and they're not going to show up on their house at their house anyway. So really, it's all down to, can you get them more money in their pockets at the end of the day, more clients? And, you know, that's what they want.
You're absolutely right, Ray. And especially now that the 3-pack has become so dynamic in terms of how many different combinations of 3-pack there are across any one city, nobody's going to really know where they're ranking.
Right.
Unless your clients have the manual geolocation tool, they're not going to actually know whether they're ranking in the Maps pack. Chances are they're going to be checking from their office, in which case they are going to be very happy with what you've done for them. Right? And then it comes down to how many phone calls am I getting? How many clicks am I getting through to the website? How many people are actually spending money? Yeah. Ultimately, at the end of the day, our job is to set, same as we're doing with this course, right? This is what I boil it down to. We are selling money at a discount.
There you go.
Right, that's what you do, and that's what you really. That's how you've got to frame it with a client. That's what you're really doing. You are selling money at a discount, and if you're not able to do that, then you shouldn't be plying your trade. You should be doing something else.
Yep. And the thing here, guys, and one thing to really take into account here is be prepared. You know, just because you have the ability to do this, you get our offer here, you pick this up, you've got the ability to do these things, which is fantastic, but you know, when somebody does call you, are you ready to sell this to them? Do you have your numbers? Do you have your site, or do you have your call to action on the phone? Because I'll tell you this, the business will come to you. They will come, because I know, you know, I've told this story before, and it wasn't that long ago, by the way. I was testing out some new software that, you know, we've talked about here. It gets your leads, sends out those emails. Well, it also will do voice drops to people. And guess what? I started getting phone calls, and I realized very quickly when they called, I didn't know what the hell to say to them. I had no idea what to sell them or what to say. I'm like, whoa, you actually called me. So be prepared, get ready, know what you're going to offer, you know, and make the sale. Because I'll tell you this, one thing I learned quickly, when somebody calls you on the phone, you've got to sell to them, because otherwise when it's, oh yeah, that sounds great, tell me all about it. Okay, great, I'll talk to you on Tuesday. They're not going to answer the phone on Tuesday. No, so you've got to get them to take action when they're there on the phone. Work towards that.
When somebody says to you, I'll think about it, that's a no.
Yep. Get them to buy it right then. I mean, I've literally had lawyers who are like, yeah, call me on Monday. We'll set up a meeting for Tuesday afternoon. Okay, great. And then I call them on Monday and nobody answers, or the secretary answers, and they never get back to me. We never set up a meeting, and you never hear from them again. So you gotta do stuff quick.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. But you can grab their attention with this. It's and it goes back to what we said before, Ray. The more confident you are, the more attention you're going to grab, because don't be intimidated by these people. Just, you know, you're on a level with them. You're offering something that is equal to what they offer in their industry. You are an expert in what you do. So you come across as being an expert, and they'll buy from you.
Absolutely. And Douglas has a question here about software. Reach out to me after the webinar. We'll see what we can do with that, just so you know. And that way I don't have to type it all out here. So just reach out to me afterwards, Douglas. Just go on to Facebook, do Ray the Video Guy. You'll be able to contact me through Facebook Messenger. That'll be the easiest way. All right. So it looks like the questions are dying down here, guys. So after 2 hours and 40 minutes with still a ton of people on here, it looks like the questions have come to a halt. If you have any last second questions, post them in here now so that we can answer those for you. But with that, of course, as we draw to a close here, we've got this great offer for anybody that wants to start working with local businesses. If you want to be able to succeed, if you want to be able to help them with the Google My Business, this is your opportunity to be able to do that consistently and with confidence. And, you know, as I've told people, you know, I'm Ray the Video Guy, but when I'm contacting local businesses, guess what I'm selling them? I'm selling them this. I am selling them Google My Business, reviews. And then once that is done, then I start to offer the other stuff. And the reason is walking in with a $10,000 video package is not going to get a lot of play right away. But when you do something like this, where you can show results, you can show it quickly, a lot of times they come to me and say, well, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? So this is a great way to start with local businesses. People understand what Google is. They trust Google. They can see the ratings. They can see their listings. They can see what you do. And the price point is much lower than some of the other things that you can offer. A new website is going to cost a fortune to do. SEO is going to cost who knows how much per month, because I know nothing about SEO. Video production is going to cost a fortune. This is very affordable and very effective. But of course, you have to take action by jumping in and checking it out. And, you know, the price right now being 50% off, I mean, you can't go wrong with this. It's something you've got to jump in there and do. So there you go.
It's a crazy price, Ray, and it gives them access to our Skype group as well, where there's it's what we've got planned for the Skype group, how we're going to help people to grow their business once they're in there. It's just phenomenal what we have, because everything that we're learning all the time and applying to our own businesses, we're giving that to our members. Yeah, everything.
And for those asking, by the way, check out, we've posted it a couple times here. We mentioned that you'd get a free gift for being on here live. Now, some people said till the end. I never said that. I just said being on here. So for those, there's going to be a bunch of people like, I stayed on for 2 hours and 40 minutes for that. But no, it's the gmblocal.com/DD. That's going to get you to the driving directions software that you can get in and use. That is completely free for you to use. And, you know, I don't know if you guys want me to say don't share it with everybody, but that's up to you. You can make that call.
Look, it's fine. It's okay. We're just happy for people to use it, and the more exposure we can get for GMB in general, and it's going to drive people eventually to our door, and it's going to increase our increase awareness of us and what we're doing, which is what it's all about, really.
Nice. All right.
Watching the video on that page will open your eyes. You won't believe the power that tool has. It seems very simple, but it's not.
Like I said, we were talking about driving directions earlier today, you know, with some of the guys that I work with on some of the higher level clients. That's what we were talking about, was driving directions, because they are very, very powerful. You know, in fact, you can grab those and use them, you know, jump in there and do that. And of course, if you upgrade into the software, you'll be able to do that automated and, you know, get those things embedded into a lot of places and have some real fun with it. But definitely want to check out, at the very least, get the driving directions and start using that, because it's going to help immensely. You'll just have to put in a little more work.
Use that. Once they've used that, Ray, they're going to be a convert, and they'll find their way to our door then, and it'll give them the confidence that we do know what we're doing and that we can help them to to rank their client sites and start making some money for themselves.
All right. Well,
I've
seen no more new questions pop in there. So, oh, sorry, go ahead. Oh, I thought somebody was jumping in there. Okay, sorry. So now's the time, guys. If you want to take action, jump on over. We've got the links in the program. Terry has been posting it for us left and right here. Thank you, Terry, for all your hard work on here. And I'll be honest, I'm not even sure who Terry is, but she has been doing a lot of great work for us, passing it on.
Thanks,
Terry. Thank you very much.
She's great.
If you want to jump in, now's the time to do so. You're going to get the best price because this is going to go up. This is a half price deal right now at just for the people that are going to be seeing this over the next couple of days through either the live webinar or the replays. If you want to see a replay, check your email. We'll be sending out the replay when it's ready. Quite honestly, it's going to be ready as soon as we get off, probably 10 minutes later. It'll automatically be ready. You can use the same link you've already have, and that will get you in to see the replay. And of course, if you have any questions about any of this, you know, you want to know more about the program, you want to know more about pricing or whatever it happens to be, feel free to reach out to me. Best place is always Facebook. Go to Facebook, send me a private message, and I'll be glad to answer any questions I can. And if I don't know the answer, well, guess what? I can get these guys pretty much anytime and, you know, get them to answer that question as well. So
I just want to, you asked who Terry was. We actually do some work with Terry, and she is starting a Done For You business where she's going to be doing lots of things. So if anybody's interested in Done For You, you can get hold of myself or Terry or Paul. And
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And of course, if anybody has any questions, we talked a little bit about, you know, getting leads. If you have questions about getting leads, feel free to ask me about that as well. As well as getting ratings. You know, I'll be glad to answer those questions and help you out there as well. But of course, the big thing is you got to get started. You got to learn how to do this. So take the time right now, head over to the page to check it out. And if it's right for you, well, then jump on board. We'll be glad to have you in there. And of course, we'll be able to, you know, make sure that you are successful with using that. So with that,
questions that have regards to buying, we're more than happy to answer them.
Beautiful. So we really appreciate you guys taking the time, and I know it's either early or late, where depending upon where we are. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Probably a lot longer than you wanted to go on, but hey, you know what? If people are still on here, and there's still a ton of people on here, you want your questions answered, and that's great. Oh, and look at this. We've got a bunch of posts here now, so we'll see if there's anything interesting here. What's the link again for the free bonus? Thank you, John. You posted it there already. So, all right. So with that, thank you once again, John, Paul. Thank you for taking the time. We really do appreciate you.
Ray.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. Thanks,
again,
everybody, for attending.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. And again, now's the time to take action. So jump on over to that page, check it out. And again, any questions, just ask me on Facebook. I'll be glad to answer them for you. In fact, I see one already coming in right now from somebody that I know was on this webinar, so I'll be answering them in just a second. So if you have got questions, jump on in there, ask them. I'll be glad to answer them for you. And we hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.